first thing they hear.
Oh,
So
no.
I just say it so weird. They didn't hear what you said though. So welcome to another episode of Escape Reality Source Talk. I'm your host Taylor, and this is my co-host.
So,
Yeah, that's where you introduce yourself.
we're back after our little break.
Yeah, we took a break. We took a week off. So that way I could do something special with the Mockcast crew.
And I got to read a book at a not so intense pace.
Yeah.
And
I actually beat you.
yeah, you did.
And then I've been playing the game that we're going to talk about next week.
Yeah.
At a little bit of a rush pace as well. But you've been, once again, kind of taking chill. Mainly because I own the game and so you have to wait till we can hang out.
However, this is a very similar case to like Monday. Of course, another D&D game.
Yeah.
In the fact that I don't get to play the game a lot, I am fucking relentless when we play it. Because for me, as much as I would like to take time and enjoy it, I'm like, I gotta go.
Gotta get through that story.
Yep.
Which I got through today.
Yeah.
I finished the story today. I think they do a really good job, giving you the condensed version. I'm not going to give too much weight, actually. That's all I'm going to say for now, because we're going to talk about it next week.
Yeah.
So that's your little preview for next week.
Speaking of, 3.2 million copies in 2 weeks?
Yes, so that's one of the bits of news we're going to talk about today.
That's
So
good.
So Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, as of 2 days ago, has been reported to have sold 3.2 million copies in 2 weeks. I am part of that because I bought the game twice.
I hope they.
So I'm at least 2 of those.
Yeah.
Which I guess that makes up for you not having a copy.
Yeah, you butts.
Because I bought the PC copy because I couldn't wait to play it. I was just like, I gotta play. Because I was already late. Because everybody else was already playing it when I got on board. And so, because it had already been a few days out. Not too much out, but it was out.
It was out.
And so, I was like, I gotta get on board or I'm gonna get left behind. So I bought it on PC digitally for Steam. Started playing it, and you started playing it with me. And then I was like, well, I really would like a physical copy. One, because we try to always have a physical copy of whatever we're reviewing next on the show. And so I was like, I gotta find that. Boy, when I tell you this game was hard to find,
How many stores?
I'm lucky that was at Best Buy, but it wasn't at Walmart. It was completely sold out at Walmart for PS5. PS4 there were still a few copies, but I wanted a PS5 copy. And then of course there were no deluxes anywhere. Deluxe edition is gone. It doesn't exist. It is not part of the Jedi archives. Yeah. So with that in mind, I was like, I guess I'll get it from Best Buy, and I guess I'll get the regular version and then digitally upgrade it to the deluxe version by getting the DLC pass. And that's what I did. And so instead of going to Best Buy though, I was like, because I was getting off work and Best Buy wasn't open yet. And I was like, even though I would work maybe 5 minutes away from Best Buy, I was like, since they're not open yet and they're not going to be open for another hour, I don't feel like going there and waiting for them to open. I'll just order online. And I was going to order, do a drive pickup order, but then I was like, I don't feel like driving back out there after I go home. So I did a delivery. Yeah, I just had it delivered. But it was next day delivery. Unfortunately, it wasn't that day delivery. which would have made the story so much better if it was that day delivery, but no.
I'm sorry. I thought when you said I had a delivery, you were like, I gotta go and take this
No.
fucking game somewhere
No,
else.
no, no,
Like,
no,
why
no.
would you do that?
No. So instead of me picking it up, I had them bring it to me.
Oh, that makes more sense.
I mean, it's still funny, regardless, because it's like, oh, it's a Best Buy I can walk to. Like,
Yeah.
Like,
why
I can't.
would
Well, I could drive to and walk in, but I just picked the laziest of options out of all the laziest options. But Amazon didn't have any copies for PS5.
Oh, not even Amazon?
No, Amazon is.
They're like,
They don't even have deluxe copies for anything except the digital Xbox.
like, look, man, we ain't got shit.
Yeah. So, yeah, I believe it when they tell me 3.2 million copies were sold in 2 weeks.
Oh,
Let's see. They compare that. So we're looking at Star Wars Internet, and Gamatsu surpasses all Lego console game launches and PC. So it beats all the console launches. Sorry. Most of the PC versions of Lego weren't out day one. I think this is one of the few times where it's out day one, not PC as well. It outsold Squadrons within its first month. Squadrons only sold for 1.1 million digital copies.
That's the
flight simulator one.
Yeah.
The modern one. We'll get to it.
I
have it. It's a good game.
No.
It's canon. It's canon.
God.
You gotta do it. It's got a story mode.
Oh, fuck. You mean I gotta... God damn
You
it.
gotta learn to fly.
Fuck me. That's gotta be real bad. You know that, right?
Our friend of the it is gonna be back as a friend of the channel, Matt, our one subscriber on Twitch. He can attest to because I've seen him play. Because he's done live streams of it as well. But he also doesn't like flight simulators. So I don't either. I mean, you guys, if you watch the YouTube channel, you've seen my attempts at X-Wing. Squadron's not so bad. Squadron's I'm good at, but X-Wing has been like, X-Wing is bad for me.
My favorite question. How'd you manage to crash a car within 3 feet?
And then it's also outsold Battlefront 2, which had 1 million. The only one out of the modern Star Wars games that it hasn't outsold is Jedi Fallen Order at 2. No, it did outsell Jedi Fallen Order, which was at 2.9 million.
Send a pretty harsh bar there on your first 2 weeks of existence.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure. I'm hoping that this is for the first month for all three. It only says the first month on Squadrons.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure Lifetime, Jedi Fallen Order, and Battlefront 2 have sold more than that.
Yeah.
And then, according to another report, let's see, did they source? NME.com? Yeah, NME. I don't know that. I don't know that website in particular. But according to that source, according to that report, it even is almost matching Elden Ring's digital sales, which is impressive. Because Elden Ring has done pretty well as well, which makes sense. It is one of the first times From Software game kind of fits a public audience perspective. Like it's still just as hard as any other From Software game.
Yeah, it is.
But it presents itself more to the wider audience.
The thing is,
I think it's the George R. R. Martin effect.
I think that as well. However, I can kind of see stuff from previous games in the series that they either put in or left out that I'm grateful for. The thing that I'm most grateful for is that they included stealth mechanics.
Yes.
Because it makes the game a lot easier when you can just wait for the enemy to walk by and say, yeah, no, fuck that, I'm not fighting that.
Yeah. Which is also in there's actually stealth mechanics in Lego Star Wars as well.
Yeah. Sadly, I don't think we've used.
No, you'll use them later, for sure. But, not really much in the original trilogy, but a little bit in the original trilogy, but more in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, prequel trilogy is more like, for lack of a better term, there's Jedi are on a rampage through course.
Yeah. Two more, and by the way, while we're talking about Lego Star Wars, two more of the DLC packs came out since we last played. The Rogue One pack, which includes Jyn Erso, Bodhi, Rogue, Cassian Andor, K2, Esso, Drew Imlay, Baze Malvis, and Director Printing. And then the other pack that came out is the Classic Character Pack, which features the original 99 Lego character skins for Luke, Leia, Han, and Darth Vader. I've added those to my PlayStation version, but we'll have that PC version before we stream it today. Not that we're going to play with them as much, you're trying to get through the story for now. And then I think there's still some DLC that's not out yet. Because I think there's a Mando Season 2 DLC pack.
What? Through that?
Well, there's no story.
Okay, so no.
It's just character packs. So Mando Season 2 and then Bad Batch are the two last ones I think that are missing. So, all right. While we're talking about video game news, let's kind of stick with that and talk about the announcement that Skydance Studios and Lucasfilm Games are working together on a new video game. Skydance Studios is what they call their video game department. Skydance is also the film department. They do films as well.
Yeah, I thought it's one of those weird names where I'm like,
you know the name, but you don't know where.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Skydance Media, I think this is their first game.
Yeah, because I think they're more like a film.
Yeah, they're more of a film company. They do all the Mission Impossible films, at least since Ghost Protocol. They've done the True Grit remake. They worked on the Star Trek Into Darkness, World War Z, Terminator Genesis. They got a bit of, so they got a bit of a well-rounded thing, and they're working on they have the new Top Gun movie. So yeah, a lot of Tom Cruise, and then the new Terminator Rise of Beast movie that they're working on. But they also have opened up a game studio, which is New Media, and so far, well, they had Skydance Interactive first, which they partnered with Skybound Entertainment on a lot of that. And one of their more well-known is Walking Dead State Center's game, VR game.
Okay, yeah. I remember seeing that a while back.
So they have a little bit they have a little bit under their belt, but New Media is officially 100% new. And they are headed by Amy Hennig as one of their main producers. You may know that name for her work on the Uncharted series. She's one of the producers on that.
Okay.
Back with Naughty Dog. And she is also known for, in the Star Wars community, for trying to get another game done back when EA had full control.
Oh, yeah?
But it was canceled before anything really got made. Project Ragtag, which I don't know if you've seen images before, but it's that game that looked like a smuggler guy on Tatooine with the Imperial banners all over the place. All they showed was that it was an open world game, and that was all they showed in the footage before it got canned. And we knew it was attached to it, so a lot of people were excited. But this was during a time when, unless you were Battlefront, EA was probably going to cancel your game. So a lot of people are hoping. All we know so far is that this is another open world game, and people are hoping that this will kind of be a successor to that project, if not something new. Either way, we're hoping for something fun, and we're hoping you'll replace Eclipse. For those who are not excited, I mean, a lot of people are disappointed with the idea of Eclipse.
Yeah.
As we've discussed.
Yeah, if you want to know more about our such and such about that,
You can watch other episodes.
go watch the other episode.
They're somewhere. I won't tell you what
There's
episode.
somewhere.
I won't say which episode. Just find it. just watch all of our episodes, and then you'll find it, right?
Find it eventually, right?
Yeah, so just
I mean,
watch
if you
all of our
start at
episodes.
the pilot and go to now.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's actually not that far off. I'm pretty sure. I'm actually pretty sure the pilot episode is.
We just go, no.
Well, no, because that one we were excited for it. 'Cause that was when the trailer first came out.
Yeah.
But I think after some conversation, like, I was already wary, but after some conversations with some of my friends, we were like, yeah, that's when our view kind of like. Also, it wasn't until they said that they weren't even working on that they didn't have a full team yet that we.
Yeah. It was mainly what was it, 3 to 5 years, and we were.
And I don't mind a 3-year time. No, they said 5 years, 5 to 7 was what the timeline was. So yeah, hopefully this.
Don't do that.
Yeah. See, at least with this one, all they're doing is announcing that they're making a game.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with this. Announce you're making the game. You don't even have to give us a title yet. Just say, hey, we're making a game. Okay, cool. I'm excited, but I'm also going to wait until I see what you offer. And, this is the right way to do it. I expect a 5-year game development time based on the fact that you're only now announcing it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're showing me a trailer, I'm thinking, at least, with the modern gaming industry, I'm thinking 3 years. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way. I should be thinking this year if you're showing me a trailer, but the game industry doesn't work that way.
Yeah, apparently not.
So yeah. Let's go into TV. So there's a few bits of TV, 2 of which are rumor, but 1 is confirmed. All right. We'll start with the confirmed. So we now know who the composer is for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Her name is Natalie Holt. She did a little bit of an interview talking about the fact that we haven't heard any notes from what she composed yet, because the trailer was a Duel of Fates that played. But obviously she's got big ideas of what the plan is regarding what she wants to do with it. So let's kind of look at her, because I'm curious, like off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that she's done, but she's been in the industry. Okay, so she was a music production assistant on Stardust, which I like that movie. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's got younger Charlie Cox, so current Daredevil.
I don't know if I have it, if I haven't.
I feel like if you have, it's because I've shown it to you, because I
It's
love
either
showing,
that,
because I
or
love showing people this film.
it's either that, or it's one of those ones where it's like really young, and
Yeah.
I saw it on the
It's got Michelle Pfeiffer as the villain,
shit.
and it's got Robert De Niro as a sky pirate.
What?
Yeah, he has like a one of those airships, and so he's a sky pirate. And yeah, it's great. His name is Captain Shakespeare.
Oh.
I'm not gonna say anything else because it ruins the film if I do. But yeah, she's attached currently to the Batgirl movie, so she's got that coming up. That's pretty cool. Outside of that, it looks like a lot of smaller films that I haven't seen. But she does have a good bit of stuff behind her. Television. She did the Loki music. Okay, and Loki. It's not too memorable, but I remember liking the music, but I don't like. I can't think of a song off the top of my I can't hum a tune.
You can't even remember that. There is no hope for me.
But yeah,
Because of the whole, like,
yeah.
Usually
I'm
explaining.
I'm the movie guy. Yeah.
Fucking, are you gonna watch Moon Knight? No.
All right. Well, I guess you'll watch a movie.
Like,
Because it's like, you like the character in the comics, but you're like, nah, I'm not gonna watch the show. It's not.
it's just that brutal and like harsh rejection.
And to me, it partially doesn't make sense, but it also does. I get it's just not for you. It's not your taste. So I get it.
I'm sorry, y'all spoiled me. with Civil War. And then I just never came back because I was like, that's good enough.
I feel like you would like it then. But, I mean, especially since you like the character already. So there's that. All right, so we now have a composer. Cool.
I look forward to hearing your work.
Yeah.
I say
Because
see,
Star Wars,
but you can't see me.
yeah, because Star Wars music has always been really good.
Yeah. That is a consistent line.
Yeah,
The music department knows what they're doing.
yeah, exactly. Whether it's John Williams or somebody else.
Yeah.
Which it's mostly John Williams, but I mean, on top of John Williams, we've had Michael Giacchino who did Rogue One, which was a great soundtrack. We've had Kevin, I'm trying to remember his name for Clone Wars. Kevin Kiner, who did Clone Wars and Rebels and Bad Batch. He does all the animated shows. Once again, also great cry during Rebels. You guys who watch Rebels know where.
I can only imagine that when we
When we
get to there, it's like you're gonna be over crying, and I'm just like, man, this really sucks. Like, just think, like, man, this situation's not great.
This is sad. Okay, moving on.
I do remember.
We discussed what probably the part out off screen.
This isn't Rebels. This is from Clone Wars. The part where I think it's pretty densely fogged and they're accidentally shooting their own people.
Oh, Umbara.
I'm like, fuck, this is bad.
Yeah, Umbara. And then Rex is like, it's a great idea for me to just run out in the middle and take my helmet off, and hopefully that'll work, and I don't get shot as I try to stop everybody from shooting each other.
Oh, it's a good thing that worked. This could have been real bad.
All right, so let's go into the rumored side of things.
Oh boy.
So we've got a couple things. Let's actually talk about the thing that was our pilot. Visions. We're getting more.
Supposedly.
Well, we already know we're getting more. It's the matter of when.
Mm.
And the rumor part is that it's this year.
Oh. Well, that would be nice.
And I think that's a nice surprise.
Yeah.
Like, don't announce it, just drop it. And be like,
By the way, we made some stuff.
and you know what? I kind of don't mind that.
Yeah.
I think that's.
I
I like those type of surprises when companies are like, hey, we didn't announce this, but here you go. I mean, and I think in the case of like bigger companies, it works. Smaller companies, a little harder to get away with that. But with something like Star Wars and Disney, you can get away with that.
I think it works good. I think it works good, he said, not explaining it for them. I think
I
it
understand
is
what you
a good thing. Assuming this is true. This is the rumor saying.
Yeah, right now it's rumor, and I think I recently even heard a rumor of like a month. Like this article doesn't give a specific month, but I've heard a specific month in one rumor.
I think it is good, and that allows the studios who make it to operate independent of
Yeah, because
fan expectations.
and it helps that it's
It also helps
let
the
it be here. It's not canon.
Yeah. So they're free to experiment and do a little bit of other stuff.
Yeah.
I can't name any of the characters that are in that shot.
I could.
Actually,
We got Law.
yeah. That is the girl from The Village Bride.
Yeah. That's
That's also the guy from
that's the
Village
night.
Bride.
Yeah. And then of course we got the sister from the Twins episode.
And the that's Padawan from the
Yeah.
one that I like.
The Elder.
Yes, the Elder.
Yeah. It's just been a while also since we.
It's been.
I see Boba Fett though. Flying there.
Oh yeah.
And then
Don't fuck with him when he's on the clock.
and then you got
He'll
Toby.
kill you.
And then of course Toby.
Yeah.
Toby's easy to remember because his episode has his name.
Who is this small child?
Like I remember, if you tell me what an episode's about, I can remember.
Yeah.
But if you ask me to name all the characters, it's gonna get a little. Oh God, we're giving them ideas for trivia.
Yeah. All right.
Don't tell them.
Yeah.
Don't tell them what we don't know.
On to the next thing.
But yeah, so rumor that it's this year. I've heard some rumors that they're going to go outside of Japanese companies, but I'd be disappointed if they did like American companies, just because I kind of like the aesthetic that this is the anime Star Wars show. You know, I don't mind that. I guess maybe down the line, right?
I don't think.
I think they should be smaller companies though. They shouldn't be big animation studios, right?
Yeah.
Because this should be a showcase for the smaller companies. Because that's mostly what the first season was. It was mostly a showcase of smaller Japanese anime studios, with the exception of the company that made Twins and The Elder.
Yeah.
Because they're a slightly bigger company.
Yeah. Pretty sure they worked on.
They worked on some big anime.
They worked on some building.
Yeah. So that's the exception. And I'd say that should continue to be the exception. It should be studios that, if you're going to do bigger studios, it should be studios that aren't from the U.S. It should be to show other cultures. Especially since it makes sense for Star Wars to go Japanese material, because that's where Star Wars started. We had this discussion when Visions came out during the pilot. You know, people that were upset that, oh, you're mentioning the anime with Star Wars. Star Wars has always been that.
Do you like westerns?
Do you like
Do
Western?
you like samurai films?
Do you like Star Wars?
If you do, then be quiet and go sit in the corner and enjoy the show.
Yeah. I mean, and you can have you can still dislike the content, but that should not be your reason.
Yeah. Watch it if you find something like internal within the story.
And if you personally don't like anime, you don't have to like it, but don't be mad that it exists.
Yeah, there's plenty of other Star Wars stuff you get good.
Yeah, it's one of those, and we're definitely going to talk about this when we get to the book, but some content might not be for you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Some content is for other people. Yeah, and I'll get more into that rant when we get to the book.
Yeah, we'll save that.
But
we
so as far as Visions, are you excited at this news? It sounds like you are.
I'm overjoyed, Caleb. I know there's a weird inflection in my tone that makes it sound a lot more.
You're a bit Adam's Family in tone. You're like, I'm enthused. See.
Unfortunately, I'm operating on 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, no.
Maybe the excitement is coming off a lot.
I guess we never told the audience why we're running a little late.
Yeah.
It's work.
I'm sorry.
It happens. And that's why you should.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna jokingly, but like at the same time, not jokingly.
100% serious.
Please support the channel. Feel free to join our Patreon, subscribe to us on Twitch. We haven't started doing the subscribe on YouTube. Like we haven't done the YouTube thing that there's, you can join YouTube channels. It's not subscribing, it's joining. I think. I don't know how that button works. I'll have to ask some friends because I follow them. I'll have to ask them and Chocolate how they do it. Because I don't know if you have to have a certain number of subscribers already or viewers or all that. I don't know. I don't know where that button is. They'd be like, hey, give me money to follow my channel and we'll give me cool like emotes and stuff. But no, like jokingly but also serious, like join our Patreon. Join us on Twitch. That's a good time.
What's the joke? A false laughter hiding real pain.
Yeah. Because then we get to this full time, which is the goal. The goal is make this full time along with just making content in general. We discussed this last time, so I'm not going to go into that again.
For our
So if you want to hear
retroactively, we should just label that podcast real talk. Because that one's one of the fucking rawest ones I think we've ever done.
Yeah, so if you really want that, if you really want to hear more about that, definitely watch last episode, so 2 weeks ago. It should be it's near the end of the episode that we talk about that stuff. Um,
Alright.
so, but yeah, so let's go back into TV news. Still in the rumor category, The Acolyte, which we've discussed my excitement for this project.
I'm trying to remember what it's about.
It's the end of the High Republic era.
Okay.
It's going to be following a Sith apprentice, female-led, and female produced.
Okay. That'd be interesting.
And so there is a rumor there's a couple rumors. One, that it's set to film in October of this year, which means we should be looking at it coming out next year, either late next year or early the year after,
Okay.
depending how long it takes. Yeah.
So, should I tell the audience something? So, Caleb, you know that I like my evil sword ladies.
So you're gonna like this show.
I might like this. I'll definitely sit through this one patiently.
Yeah. Besides, you're a Ventress fan, big time.
Yeah.
Decent for Ventress.
A little bit, yes. However, I'm also...
No, that's fine. I get it. Wait till we read Dark Disciple. You will probably love her even more than cry. Not cry, but you'll be like, that's sad.
I'm like, I know where this road leads now, which is also why I'm like...
You are both excited to read that, but also hesitant.
Yeah, I'm also like...
Because I think we've already talked about the spoiler of that book outside of this show. Yeah. So the other thing that's big for the Acolyte, according to Luminerdi, which I've never heard of that, but apparently they broke the scoop that Amanda Stanberg was cast as the lead, codenamed Aura. And they have apparently now broken a scoop, another lead, rather, on two characters that are casting calls. The character named Paul. These are probably all code names, by the way. Male, white, 50-year-old. The role is described as a series regular, but only needed for one season. And the fact that they said one season, I hope it's more than one season now. Now, of course.
They're 50. They would be good. But
I'm saying that the show is more than one season.
Oh.
Now, obviously, I think we've discussed this with Book of Boba Fett. Just because an actor or something says one season doesn't mean that they're looking at other seasons. It's more of what do you call it when it's a TV show? I mean, do we call it a season? I argue it's a limited series. Just call it that. Okay. So you should say, oh, well, for this limited series. Like, unless you plan to make more seasons, don't say season. Please don't. It gets too many people's hopes up, especially people who don't understand that you're just trying to simplify a term. The other character is Miri, female, black, she's 10 years old. Role is described as a lead guest star, with Lucasfilm possibly looking for identical twins to portray the character. So it's one of those things that you can only work out actors so much. It's the reason, like, Mary-Kate and Ashley were both the youngest daughter of Full House, because kids can only work so many hours, legally speaking, which, good. Don't overwork. I don't think it should be said, but don't overwork child actors.
Yeah, they probably don't.
It's why a lot of child actors, they don't really do a lot of the time. Is that they're stressed and overworked and their parents take their money.
Do that. I didn't think we'd have to don't overwork children. Seems like a pretty simple thing.
And then of course, okay, so they say that it's probably filming until May next year. That fits.
Alright, yeah.
October, November, December, January, May, 8 months. Yeah, 8-month filming schedule for about a probably 6-episode show. Probably what we're looking at, 7, maybe 8 if they're really going for it. 8 months fits, especially since they're gonna have to, digitally enhance it and all that afterwards. The post-production side. 8 months is probably just for filming. So and that fits that. We'll probably get maybe November, December of that year, if
Maybe.
not in 2020, early 2024. Just because once again, after May, the rest of that time is going to be post-production, reshoots,
Yeah.
uh, the usual stuff. And of course, Star Wars Newsnet also hit on the they mentioned the season word, which means local season. Which once again,
Who knows?
yeah.
Wait and see.
And then Illuminati mentions that it's possible that the other rumored High Republic show era, codenamed Grammar Rodeo, begin filming first. This is the first I'm hearing of that. Oh no, we talked about that. That was the unannounced,
Okay.
where that was the unannounced one that's rumored. The one, yeah, we talked about that months ago.
Alright.
But yeah, okay. I feel like we'll get Acolyte first.
Probably.
Just because if they're filming this year, that means it's coming up. And that makes sense, because why would a show that they haven't even announced yet be coming next?
Yeah. Yeah, let's make the ballsiest move we can.
Like, I know we just said that it's cool to do that type of stuff,
Yeah.
but like, at least in the case of a season 2 of Visions, it's a show that already exists.
Yeah.
Doing a brand new show and just dropping it.
Yeah, like, here you go.
Especially in an era that, let's be honest, the wider Star Wars audience doesn't know about. Because High Republic is not a well-known era.
I don't think a lot of people come to Star Wars to read books.
Um,
I know that's a shot at a lot of people.
Yeah.
However, I've taken several shots before.
Yeah. And so, that's just how it is. I realized I skipped the TV thing that I wanted to talk about. Which now throws off how I was going to present this, because we were talking High Republic, and that would have shifted perfectly to this, but instead we're going to talk about another TV thing that I missed. So Hayden Christensen.
Don't worry, we'll get to the book review eventually.
Yeah,
But,
we're not in a rush today.
oh, okay.
We're not in a rush.
I can
We're not,
calm down now.
yeah, not in a rush. Today's a calm day.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was looking at a picture of Carrie, my parents said, which a good bit of our audience knows who Carrie is, just because the TikTok part of the audience that may watch this have seen videos of her.
Dog.
Yeah, my dog. My dog Carrie, named after exactly who you think it is. Because with me, there are no surprises.
There's you with all the social media presence, and then me with like fucking nothing.
We gotta get you a social media presence. Maybe that's why we're not getting a Brotherhood arc yet. I'm kidding, of course, but like, I would like Brotherhood. All right. I would like one. I also requested for Shadow of the Sith. Either one's fine. Both would be great, but one of them would be nice. But yeah. But yeah, they usually prefer social media preferences. Back to what we were going to talk about.
Yep.
So Hayden Christensen, aka Anakin Skywalker for the films. So he, is confirmed to be in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show as Vader. So, Hayden and Ewan McGregor had great ideas of, hey, we should do some research again, get ready, prep for the.
Let's go
Prep for the role.
review the characters across.
And it helps that they're both fans of Star
Yeah.
Wars, so this is easy for them. It's great. It's great when your work is also you having fun watching stuff that you already like. So, in the case of Ewan, his homework that he decided was just watch the 9 movies.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Hayden
Hayden Christensen decided to take the next.
apparently had quite a bit of free time.
Because he decided he just had to do one step better than his co-star. He decided that he had to binge all of the animated Star Wars shows. Well, Clone Wars and Rebels, specifically. He did not binge Resistance, which I have mixed feelings on the show, but I understand him skipping it. It also just doesn't relate to the role because Vader / Anakin does not show up in Resistance.
Dead at the moment.
Yeah. So he finished all the Clone Wars and all the Rebels, so that way he could prepare for the role. Because, so he said this was within a interview with Entertainment Weekly. He says, I went back and rewatched all the films, and I also got into the animated shows, the Clone Wars and Rebels. It was interesting. They did a lot with these characters in those shows, and they did further explore the relationship. There was interesting stuff there to learn about. It was great fun getting to go back and re-immerse yourself in this world that just continues to grow and become more and more vast. I watched them from start to finish, all 9 movies. Let's see, on top of Hayden Christensen's comments, this new EW. Okay, so a more recent Entertainment Weekly asked you the same question of, hey, what research did you do? He says, I watched them from start to finish, all 9 movies, just to get back in that world. It was interesting to watch our films because I hadn't seen them since they came out, not at all. It was cool to see and interesting to watch them and enjoy them without all of the noise that was around when they came out.
Yeah.
Which, yes, I'm so glad you got to enjoy them. Because I don't know if you've seen the clip of George at a convention with the actors where he's like, yeah, this is really tough on you guys because of how the fans are react. Like, I don't know if you've seen that clip.
I haven't seen that clip.
It sucks. It's why, I mean, and the fandom menace really is the issue. Because I always liked the films, and I always appreciated the characters. I mean, I was also not on the Jar Jar's terrible train growing up, but also I watched the films starting in 2nd grade, so, and I watched episode 1 first, so, I didn't have the original trilogy in the back of my mind. And also, like, on top of that, like, even after watching the original trilogy, because I watched episode 1, then I watched the original trilogy, then I saw episode 2 in theaters. So, like, even then, I just like Star Wars. So, as I got older, I saw problems with the acting, but I never saw it as the actor's fault. I always saw it at, especially since I always wanted to learn film. Like, Star Wars is what got me into film. Phantom Menace inspired me, honestly. I originally wanted to be an actor. Believe it or not.
Yeah. Don't you have a film degree?
Well, that's different. I originally wanted.
Sorry. Remember, I'm a college dropout. I don't know shit.
So I originally wanted. So an actor would mean I would have gotten a drama major. I got a drama minor though. And I minored in drama instead of business, like literally every other film degree. Literally everybody else in the communication department that I knew minored in business, majored in communication, film and television, digital film and television is the specific. Because you had to tell your major and the specific, like, because in the case of communication, I could also range with like report, like being like working for you. It's not just film. So it could also be like working for newspapers, whatever. So like, I originally wanted to be an actor, and in 2nd grade I would like doodle on the back of my desk. Like I would, you know how back in the day you would do a test, and then you would just have to wait until you turn your test in. So I would turn the page over, and usually if it was blank,
You would draw.
I would start doodling.
So
I'm not a great artist. Even to this day, my mom liked to joke light bulb heads, because the way I drew heads, I would do like the neck, a circle at the top, and then like a straight line. So it would look like a light bulb, where the neck and the head were connected. There was no like singular circle for the head and then the neck, which I did learn to do eventually. But even then, my artistry skills have not continued beyond that. I'm really bad at doing profile shots. I'm great at like straightforward drawings, but well, not great. I'm average. But yeah, so I would draw like fake movie posters when I was younger, and I'd be like, oh, and then I'd be like, my character would be this, and I'm gonna be in the next Star Wars, and so that would be me as a kid.
man, I hope you didn't get in trouble for that.
No,
I
because
got in trouble for reading books in school
I got in trouble for that later on.
because
I
I had a problem.
also had a problem with reading comic books in school.
Yeah, no, I didn't read comic books.
Well, not comic books, but like the graphic novels. So I would have like a full graphic novel.
God.
Yeah, that's where I got in trouble. And so, like, you know, that's just who I am. I mean, and so obviously no surprise. You would be Star Wars. And so I would draw that, and then I drew my own. I would start to come up with my own stories that were like in a similar vein of like, oh, sci-fi stuff that I would like to do, and like I would have like lightsaber-like weapons, so laser swords, and then superheroes and stuff in it, because also I like superheroes, because, you know, I grew up liking the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, and so like, and then I came up with villain names and stuff like that, you know, so, but then eventually I was like, so I'm making up my own stories, why am I not, I know that there's other, like, I started to get invested and be like, oh, there's a job for that, I could be a writer, I could be a director, and so that's when, that was probably around second grade, third grade area where I was learning that stuff, and I was like, oh, so even at that age, I kind of appreciated that side of it, because I mean, I've talked about it before. I'm the kid who watched the film when it came out, watched it at home on DVD, or like, because by that time DVD was starting to become a thing. Although episode 1 I saw on VHS, but episode 2, by the time episode 2 came out, that's when DVDs were becoming a thing. And so I was the kid who would watch DVDs, and then I would rewatch the movie with the director's commentary or the actor's commentary, because I wanted to learn like how they did these things. And I would watch all the behind the scenes stuff on the special features. Like, those were the days, man. DVDs nowadays, you know, DVDs and Blu-rays nowadays, I miss that stuff. I really should listen to more director's commentaries. I don't as much nowadays, but
I remember, for me growing up, I've explained to you
yeah,
my fucking starting and stopping points with like Star Wars, and how it's a fucking madhouse if you watch it in the order that I watched it in.
yeah, absolutely.
Because I think it's like what 5, 6. Sorry, not.
It's almost a machete cut, but not quite.
It's like, yeah, it's 5, 6, 4, 2, 1, 3.
Yeah, like, it's a really jumbled mess.
So
I guess me taking you out of order on canon defense isn't that big of a problem.
yeah, so for me, half the movie is spent like, okay, how did they get here?
Yeah,
That's fine.
because it happens. So yeah, I mean, thankfully the main movies have the opening crawl. And
Yeah,
tell you what's going on.
But throughout, now looking back on it, to me, at least this Star Wars has always had this sense to me of it always actually ends on a bad note for the characters.
I'd say that's not true except for maybe 3 and 5.
No.
Because 1 ends on a pretty good note.
1 ends with Qui-Gon Jinn and an enemy appearing.
Yeah.
2 ends with a war breaking out. 3 ends
3
with the creation of Darth Vader.
3 is the tragedy. Yeah.
4 ends with Obi-Wan dying and then escaping.
But they destroyed the Death Star.
They do. But millions of people are dead. 5, we know what happens in 5.
Yeah.
And 6 was for a brief time a happy spot.
Yeah,
it's like fucking finally.
until we got the sequels.
Yeah.
But
I don't think that it's bad.
I mean, no, it makes sense because to assume that evil will go away forever is not how anything works. And I get, like, we want that in our fantasy stories.
Yeah.
But even in some of the greatest of fantasy stories, one of the important themes is that evil always returns. Like, if we look at such writing as Tolkien, that's one of his major themes, is that evil always returns. And in fact, is always worse than the last evil. Of course, he's writing this from the perspective of a man who fought in World War II,
So,
And I think he fought in World War One, or at least was around for World War One. So, like, I know for sure he fought in World War Two. So, like, just from the perspective of a man who has seen the evil of man. So, obviously, yes, evil always returns, and that's an important theme because it kind of reminds us that we should always. It's okay for us to have happy lives and to kind of live our lives, but we should always be aware of when darkness is approaching. And it's something that we see as the kind of the downfall of the Jedi. They weren't really looking for it. They were like, "Oh, this is great. This is great for the Jedi."
what was it?
I mean, the closest they get is realizing that there's a darkness, but they don't really. And then their ego is like, "Well, we can't tell anybody that we think darkness is coming because then it makes us look weak because we can't tell them what it is."
In regards to like the Jedi and the conflict with that, I'm trying to remember who said it. I think it was something along the lines of peace breeds complacency, where it's like, great, everything is fixed, everything's great, everything's looking up.
Yep. And I mean, but yeah, because like going back to Tolkien, I mean, Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, is weak sauce compared to Sauron. And Sauron was Morgoth's apprentice in a very Emperor Vader manner, which is, I think, I think it's an obvious comparison, and I think there's some obvious reasons why George might have been taking inspiration from that, considering Star Wars is space fantasy. It's sci-fi as well, but it's space fantasy first and foremost. I mean,
Motherfuckers running around doing magic.
yeah.
I don't know, y'all forgot that bit.
And so, like, I think it's important for us to realize.
It's one of those weird things.
Yeah. Because, like, you're going to tell me, because the Empire is definitely a worse villain than the Separatists. So, in the prequels, we got the Separatists where they die out, but it's replaced by an even worse evil, the Empire. And then I'd argue the Empire is then replaced by the First Order, who isn't really the true villain of that. It's the final order that's the true villain, which is the Emperor once again returning. And that is the even bigger evil. And I argue Palpatine is even more powerful and more evil in the sequel trilogy than he is in the original trilogy. I mean, the man, he survived death. Sure, it was through cloning technology, this and that, but that's still pretty powerful.
Yeah.
So yes. So when it comes to that argument, that's where I'm like, yeah, of course he came back. That's just how it works. Yeah. And then people are like, well, that takes away from Anakin being the chosen one. No, it doesn't. Because the prophecy never says that he will get rid of all. Like he won't bring. It never said that he will bring balance forever.
Fucking wording.
It never says that balance will be brought forever. It just says that he will bring balance. And he does. For that moment.
Like,
and
the Force is weird in that sometimes it's like by the numbers, and other times it's especially full.
And even if, I mean, and by that logic, then we shouldn't have legend material. Like, nothing legend should have existed. If we're going to assume that, oh, anytime evil will rise again, that means it ruins Anakin's character. No. Because then you literally don't have the same storyline in Legends, where the Emperor comes back, one of the most beloved Legends content storylines ever. I'm taking pot shots at the Legends fanboys, but, and while I also enjoy that storyline, I acknowledge that the reason that, I acknowledge that, hey, we kind of can't, it's an argument you can't make if you like that storyline. And honestly, if you like any Legends content, because that means you definitely can't have the Bong storyline, while they're not Sith or Darksiders. They do kind of, well, I guess you could have the Bong storyline to a degree. but I would argue that they are Darkseid just by the thing that they are fulfilling the Darkseid role without actually using the Darkseid. Even though I hate the Bong storyline, just because I don't like the Bong as villains. I like the concept, but the way that they're implemented, not so much. But then you definitely can have like Darth Caedius, for example, where Jason Solo becomes evil, and that's a great like Jason and Jaina are some of the best storylines. The original Solo children in Legends, which were basically replaced by Ben and Rey. I would argue that Ben is basically Jason's storyline to a degree, and then Rey is basically Jaina without being related to Ben. And then of course you got a little bit of the Dark Empire storyline with Palpatine returning. I would argue they took a lot, and so all these people that like, well, I'm upset that they took this way, and I also don't like that they waste Anakin being the chosen one. You can't make those arguments. It's in the same sentence. You really can't. Anyways, but going back to the acting side.
Yeah.
That's how this started. I don't blame Hayden or Ewan or Natalie or anybody. Honestly, while I appreciate George for his world building, hot take here. George is bad at directing. Actors. I did the pause on purpose. He's bad at directing actors. And it can be seen every time George is the director of a Star Wars film. Because you get the best acting in the Star Wars films that he is not the director of. Empire and Return of the Jedi, the only two that he didn't direct out of the original 6, has the best acting out of the prime cast. And also the best delivery of George's dialogue. Whereas you look at the prequels, where George is producer, director, writer. While they look great, they look great. They are shot well, and they have really good effects. That honestly, a lot of the digital effects still hold up to this day. And we're talking about stuff that was started in '99, and we're talking about like early green and blue screen, and early motion capture, because this is the first set of on-set motion capture. Because Jar Jar is the first motion capture character. Thank you, George Lucas.
Well, with that.
Yeah. And from what I understand, it helps the actors a little bit better than say what they got the other 99% of the time on the prequels, which is just probably to a tennis ball. Because your digital characters. Because they put a tennis ball on a stick, and because they gotta give you line of sight.
Something to look at.
Especially for like a Yoda, where he's gonna be a little bit shorter, so you gotta look at the Yoda. Although in Phantom Menace they did the puppet first, which that puppet was creepy, which is why now it's been undone. And like I think the only way you can see the puppet is if you still have a VHS copy. Every other copy they changed to a digital Yoda. So yeah, and then episode 2 is actually where we first got digital Yoda. Which makes sense, because that's also where they kind of need digital Yoda the most, is then it's fight with Yoda Jr. You can't have a puppet doing that. It'd be cool, but you can't.
I don't know how the fuck you would manage it.
You just eat it. You just eat it across the room.
Alright. We should probably get back to like High Republic.
Yeah. So let's go to the High Republic thing that we're going to talk about, because we got 2 more things.
Yeah.
So let's talk about High Republic, and we're going to talk about the book.
Yeah.
So phase 2, we already knew the names of the books and all that, but we got our first cover art for Path of Defeat, which is the first adult novel of phase 2. Which we got a little bit of information on the characters.
Well, these aren't characters.
No. Yeah, so
I assume the illustrator.
Yeah, Tessa Grattan is the illustrator, and Justina Ireland is the author. She's the one that did Test of Courage, and she's done mostly the young adult novel, the junior novels. So Tessa Purge, the ones that focus on Vanessa and yeah.
Okay.
So she did most of those books. I don't think she did the second one. Yeah. Daniel was able to do the second one. We haven't read the second one. But Justina did the two that we've read. So Tessa Purge and then the most recent one, Mission Disaster. This is her first adult novel, so I'm excited. Because she's proven herself, I think.
Yeah.
So on the cover we have a Santorin Jedi, which we don't have a name for, and then a character known only as the Mother in the middle, which has fan speculation going.
Speculate shit.
And then a new Everini character, so Markion Race,
Okay.
known as Marta Rose, because we actually get her concept art and we get her name. So we know she's great. She's an ancestor to Markion. Speculation is kind of like, well, where does she fit in the puzzle piece of how the Everini became evil, how they why they hate the Jedi, why the Rowe family specifically hates the Jedi, which I think we're going to see.
Yeah.
Because we're going 150 years back. And then, of course, we've been told that we're going to Dalna for this book. Because Marta is part of a group called the Path of the Open Hand, which we're going back to Dalna, because I was about to say, we've seen Dalna. That's Mission to Disaster. That's the home. That's
It's Honesty.
Honesty's
Honesty's homeworld.
Yes.
I was thinking about
It's the one that got. It's the
I'm
one that
like,
got.
doesn't that not exist anymore?
But 150 years ago it did.
Yeah.
And also 150 years ago, the Dolmens didn't live there yet. I
Yeah.
think because remember in Mission to Disaster, we learned more about that. The reason why they don't like the Republic and Jedi
Oh yeah.
because they had a civil war and the Jedi were like, eh.
Like 100 years ago.
So I already theorized. I was gonna say others have speculated, but I'm the one who made that speculation. Because I brought it up on I forget whose show, but it's on the separate topics. And I brought it up and I was like, does that mean we're gonna see the Dolmen conflict? Which I wouldn't be surprised, because that would fill in some of the gap.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna see why the Dolmens don't trust the Jedi. We're gonna see why the Rose don't trust the Jedi. And Marta's part of a group called the Path of the Open Hand, which I think is going to be the start of a group that's like, oh, we don't trust Jedi.
Well, that sounds like a cult. Would you like to join the Path of the
Yeah,
Open
the Path of the Open
No,
Hand.
I fucking would not.
Path of
Please
the
go
Open
away.
Hand is definitely like a cult, and I can see like they have like drawings of eyes on their hands. And they,
Oh, no. Don't go away. Like, as a guy who's interacted with cults and Star Wars, just... How about no? Homie, don't do that.
and so, and so I'll talk a little bit about that speculation on Mother, because you're gonna. I feel like you should know what's coming up, because
I don't...
there's a
Wait a
character.
minute.
Yeah. There's a character that you know that has the name Mother in Star Wars lore that I have used in my tabletop game that you have played.
Didn't I stab her? I'm pretty sure that...
She also goes in Legends by another more well-known name.
Yeah, Avalith, right?
I hope they're not bringing Avalith in, because honestly, they jumped the shit.
That seems like it might open a can of worms.
Kind of space worms. But yeah, it would open a lot, and also like we already have a great threat here in
Yeah.
Star Wars, like and also like Avalith kind of jumped the shark in my opinion for Star Wars. I mean, I guess Legends content had already jumped the shark,
Yeah.
but this was more like jumping the extra bigger shark. So you already jumped the shark, but you went out and found a bigger shark.
Can be jumped.
Yeah, you went out and found a bigger shark. You're like, hey, let's jump that one too. So yeah.
I do recall playing through that session, and my first instinct was right during that game. I'm like, this is creepy fucking lady on a planet that no one's been to for years. We shouldn't do that. But human decency was like, oh, well, fine.
Yeah. All right. So keeping. Yeah, I'll read it. So keeping with book stuff, we got another excerpt from Brotherhood. Yeah. Which of course the book is coming out on the 10th. And Star Wars Newsnet got their arc.
Man.
Yeah.
That's alright.
For some reason they say March 3rd, but it's May 3rd. That's probably the review. Because it's already April.
Yeah.
So May 10th is when the book's coming out.
Alright.
But our review will be the week after that, not that Saturday, but the week after. And we actually have a guest for that. No, wait, it's not even gonna be that week. Let me make sure I'm getting the right week that we're gonna talk about that. I know for Brotherhood we do have a guest. We got guests for a few.
Yeah.
We got guests for a few episodes. And I'm really happy about that because I love people that are going to be on the shows. No.
What?
Oh, June is when it's coming out. I was about to say, can't be May because our review's not till. Yeah, this guy's throwing me off. I'm sorry. Star Wars Newsnet really. Star Wars Brotherhood. I was about to say that's pretty soon to release it. Okay, so no, it is May 10th. So I've got. Are we not talking about it when it comes out? Guess we're not talking about it until July for some reason. I don't know why I put it there. Oh yes, I do. I know why I put it there. So that way we could have our guests.
Oh. Yeah. I guess it would be pretty rude of us to...
So weird that I put it that far.
Nah, it'll give people time to come to their own.
Usually we try to do like the week after though.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's because the week after is Star Wars Celebration. And so we're gonna have an episode that week, but we're not gonna talk about Brotherhood. And then I was like, well, might as well talk about this other High Republic stuff first that we also have to get out of the way, and then talk about Brotherhood. And then, so by then more people have read it. I'm pretty sure though our guest is getting it on. That for those that don't know what an arc is, that's an advantage. It's for like reviewers and stuff like that. But yeah, okay. So there's a new excerpt, and let's see. It's got our boy Dex. All right. So I will read it. The Nemoidians. The hologram of the bombing fizzled as Dex poked at it, and swiped it aside to pull up data on Trade Federation's first world. And these species, their brains are wired for calculation. Everything is an instinctive risk assessment to them. Some call it cowardly. I think it's a strong survival instinct, percentages and risks. I worked with some back in my black market days. Quick thinkers, I want them on my side. Picking a side means losing half your customers, though. Jack straightened up, his massive shoulders suddenly looking like mountains as he stood behind the bar. In most cases. So that's it. Appeal to their sense of risk. How do you recommend going about that? Do you want to bring them paid? They don't have a tight relationship with the Republic, I'll tell you that. And not exactly with the Jedi either. If I recall, you were involved with some of that. Obi-Wan's voice dropped, his sense of humor. Newt Gunray is considered an extremist by their government. Senator Lockhart, there you go again. You Jedi getting lost in the details. Obi-Wan tapped his fork against his plate. So go with Kate then. Perhaps. Dex stretched out, upper arms reaching overhead while his lower arms clutched his belly. It's simple, really. Cato Nemoidia is the base of operations for the Trade Federation. long memories, those Nemoidians. Make them forget, Obi-Wan waved his hand, prompting a laugh from Dex. I don't know if one Jedi is powerful enough to do that. Not forget. Show them that sending Palpatine might invite more trouble than it's worth. And show them that a Jedi isn't going to tear through them like at Naboo. Obi-Wan nodded, his mind reframing options in Dex's new direction. Remember, it's all numbers to them. It's what got them where they are. See, all of the Republic types think it's their ideology. Dex shook his head with a chuckle. That's short-sighted. It's a strategy, not politics. Their neutrality is different from the neutrality of your old friend. Oh, sorry. Their neutrality is different from the neutrality your old friend reaches. Obi-Wan had known Dex a long time, going back to a youthful misadventure out in the unknown regions. And though they only saw each other occasionally, his old friend knew just how to needle him. This particular jab was so effective that a grin slipped through. Obi-Wan raised an eyebrow, so acknowledgement. What old friend? Oh, I don't know. Dresses better than you, striking eyes. Mandalorian royalty. Used to call you Ben for some reason. Dex said, with one of his hearty chuckles. That woman, I hear, she's quite the savvy politician. Oh my God. I was already excited for Brotherhood, but this, and like the first excerpt already got me. This excerpt built on top of that already excitement that was there. One, we're getting more Dex.
Fucking called him out.
Two, we got a Satine reference. And then like I think we're gonna. So they referenced Dex and him going back. Now remember we saw that comic book that's going to be about the life of Obi-Wan that's coming out. The first issue comes out before the show, but the rest of the issues are going to be like after, because monthly comics.
Yeah.
So by the time the second issue comes out, we'll see probably half of Obi-Wan, if not all of it. But I'm pretty sure we're going to see the origins of how Obi-Wan and Dex kind of became friends and that. And I really hope we do, because I like this friendship a lot.
You know what I think about Dex? I feel like he's the one good person of like all the characters that just happens to live in like a bad neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's like if Mr. Rogers lived on Crime Alley.
So yeah. So I assume that you are also there with me, because I know that after the first excerpt you were already down as much as I was for Brotherhood. And so, yes.
Can't wait to see that.
So, obviously they mentioned Cato Nemoidia, which I guess brings us into our review for this week's book.
Yeah, after
Only an hour and a half.
Oh man. Alright.
But, I mean, it brings us in, because Mike Chen, the author of Brotherhood, has said, hope you read Queen's Hope. I'm paraphrasing, because really what he says is that, they're connected. But I'm going to say, better hope you read Queen's Hope before you read Brotherhood. Because things connect.
Yeah.
Alright, let's get into it. This is our usual, hey, we're going to get into spoiler talk. So if you don't want to be spoiled, read Queen's Hope.
Yeah.
And then come back.
Because you're one and only one.
And honestly, if you haven't read Queen's Hope by now, what are you doing?
Figure out the timeline is what they're doing.
Like, what are you doing? Because, like, I'm pretty sure we're the last ones to start talking about this book. Out of all of my mutuals that are, like, content creators. We are the last. So, but we also,
It's not because the book is for.
we also were awful weak. We were also awful weak. So,
Yeah.
we would have reviewed it when everybody else had it if we were on the same week as everybody else. So, do you want to start? It's fresher in your mind because you finished reading it today.
Yesterday.
Or
The way
yesterday.
that I would describe this book is a mixture of political intrigue and romance.
Along with, political intrigue and romance. Which is, and sisterhood.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the themes.
it's definitely about sisterhood because all the Queen Strode books are about sisterhood.
It is about how those three things correlate and in truth, kind of.
It's also about change.
Yeah.
About change and sometimes having to let go of your connected
Yeah.
like attachments.
Yeah.
And how to let go. And sometimes as you get older, people change and you gotta let go. And it brings to one of the sadder moments in the book at the end.
Yeah.
But it's also a moment that I think a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you're a guy like us and you're going into this book and you're going, well, what how am I going to relate to this? This is all a bunch of girls.
Don't look at that.
Don't look at it that way. Go in, check it out. You will find something to relate to. If you cannot, you didn't have friends ever. Honestly, it's one of those relatable things. At the end of the book, I guess we're just going to talk about the big thing.
Yeah. Let's talk about the big thing.
Sabe is no longer friends with. Well,
It's not that she's
she's just not in touch. She's decided that she is going to create a line and say she's creating a healthy line and saying, "I'm no longer like your servant. We're cool, but our friendship is going to be different."
It's a case of because of the nature of their work, they are different people.
And on top of that,
Which
because of the fact that Padme kept secrets from her.
yeah, a very fucking big one that could have ended horribly. The last person that broke into that room that wasn't Padme is fucking dead.
Yeah. Yeah, those worms are dead.
Yeah, they're dead.
I was about to say, technically, Dan never broke into there, but the worms are.
That could have gone terribly.
But yeah.
We are going to jump around a bit.
Yeah, but yeah, so Sabe and Padme's friendship, I'd say it has ended to a degree.
I wouldn't say that it's ended. I
Well,
would say that it's shifted.
It's shifted. It's changed to where they're not as close as they are.
Because essentially
It also
what
does.
happened.
Also, for Sabe, she also loved Padme as more than a friend. She was a little bit romantic,
Yeah.
but I think Sabe's gonna be okay. She has time for him, and I think she loves him just as much. The kitchen scene.
Yeah.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, oh, that kitchen scene. Things get almost spicy.
Almost.
Yeah. But yeah. So if you cannot relate to a friendship ending or evolving, then I don't know.
We don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that Sabe is honestly really relatable.
Yeah. She is someone who is in fucking way over her head trying to figure out the pieces of like, I know my friend does this, but I don't know why. I know they go to their room for like 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know what they do in there
Yeah,
for 4 hours.
So I guess let's get into the plot.
Yeah.
So that way we can kind of talk about this with more context. So the book starts off a little bit before the ending of Attack of the Clones, because Attack of the Clones ends with the wedding of Anakin and Padme. And this book shows us the preparations they did for that wedding, and how they kept it secret, and how they got basically C-3PO was like the organizer. Poor C-3PO, man. C-3PO was like, how do I get this? How do I do that?
Organize the wedding in secret and don't tell anybody.
Also, make sure it's perfect, because Anakin still wants to make sure that Padme's happy.
Yeah. I think Padme's like, there's a bunch of traditions. What do we have to do with Anakin? Like, look, they're traditions. We should probably do.
Yeah. And so, before they can even get to their wedding, it's like a few days before they plan to get their wedding going, they get a mission essentially.
Yeah.
To go off and.
Hey, can you go get these punk teenagers from the Art Planet?
Yeah.
That's sort of what it starts out as.
Yeah. Is that what that mission is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Because there's two.
There's two
in my mind.
Okay. Is that the one that's Queen Jamila's sister?
Yes.
Okay. So Queen Jamila reaches out to Padme because Queen Jamila is friends with Padme. And also basically Padme's like protege.
Yeah.
In a way. At least when it comes to like being the ruler of heaven. And so Queen Jamila was like, hey, do me a favor. Go, because this war is going to affect our planet, and we have allies that are on other worlds. We need to basically get them home.
Yeah. So go to Carlinus, this hard planet,
Bring them home.
and bring home.
Like however
Some of
many
the
you
noble
can.
families are worried about their kids. Could you please go and get them?
However many people you can bring.
Yeah.
And so Anakin's like, okay, we'll do this real quick.
Yeah.
And then wait time. He goes undercover as not a Jedi.
Yeah.
Because he has to make sure like, oh, Jedi not seen here.
Yeah. The other thing to note is Padme is sort of trying to figure out, okay, so I have this bit of thought. How do I incorporate this?
Into my, how do I get this traditional thought into my wedding gown and all
And
that?
she calls
Erte.
Erte and Yanni.
No, it's not Sasha. Oh, it's not Sasha and Yanni. Because Sasha and Yanni live together.
Yeah, but they live on Norio.
No. Sasha and Yanni are on the boot. Sasha is part of the legislature.
Oh shit! No, you're right. It is her.
It's just Erte.
And she's like, "What do I do with this?"
And Erte's like, well, lucky for you, I'm an artist, so I know how to do this.
It's like, okay, so you don't have enough to like add to the sash, so just use it as your headdress.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, use it as
Incorporate
the
the
veil.
veil.
So that's what she does.
And I'm like,
And she's like, well, can you make it for me? And Erte's like, of course, I'd be honored to.
yeah. She's like, I don't have anything better than you, so
Also,
yeah.
like, sisters.
Yeah. I can do this for you.
And so that's the first the handmaiden needs to know about the marriage.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that in the end they all find
They
out
all find
in their
out.
own ways.
yeah.
Some of which are better than others.
It's a fun game of who finds out how.
Yeah. Also, where are they? And what are they doing?
Oh, so do we want to do the handmaid thing now or later?
I think we should do it later.
Okay, because I wrote down all the handmaidens. I already know I'm gonna fail, so it's really gonna be a test for you. I'm gonna hold it up. And so
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that. The forward essentially, where it's Shmi.
oh yes, we gotta talk about that first. Because throughout the book they have 3 interludes. And these interludes are amazing. And they really motherhood is also a big theme.
Yeah.
Something that's rare. Like it's rare to focus on like motherhood exists in Star Wars, but it's never a
Yeah.
theme. It's always fatherhood. And that's something that some of the content creators, like some of the female content creators out there have discussed.
Yeah.
Women content. Sorry. And I'm happy seeing these content creators that I know get finding connections now.
It
Like,
can be hard to relate to a story on some. Identity is a weird thing, in that it helps to know who you are, and it makes things easier to relate to.
so, one of the great moments, and it's something that, because I was already catching up on some, sorry, I'm just thinking of what they said. I've been catching up on a bunch of my friends' podcasts, and shout out to Star Wars English Pods. Check them out. They are great. Julia and she had a guest on this week. Who I tried to get for today, but it was last minute.
Yeah.
So she was busy. But they talked about this book and reviewed it, and they talked about how the importance of that interlude, that first interlude, I guess prologue if you want to call it. But it's really an interlude because every few chapters they have a similar interlude. But it focuses on a different character.
Monologue, but it's external.
Yeah.
But it's written like it's
Yeah, and it's definitely an interlude because it's like the way that
in between.
they position it. It's in between certain chapters. But this one's a prologue.
Yeah.
And they mentioned the importance of that one because so the first one focuses on Shmi, Anakin's mother, and it's when she finds out she's pregnant.
Yeah. this is a woman who is known suffering very much so for a very long time.
Yes.
And she's like, I'm just looking for one
One
thing.
bright spot.
Yeah. If I can have one bright spot, it'll all be worth it.
And she makes a very important decision that a lot of, so in that English class episode, they talk about the importance of that she made the decision to keep Anakin.
Yeah.
And it's not a narrative importance. It's one of those emotional importances. Because, well, yes, narratively, it's important that she agreed to keep Anakin because it's like, well, obviously she needs to keep Anakin, otherwise we don't have the rest
To
of
be
the
honest,
series.
I think if she had said no, she probably would have broken.
But like, in a way, this is her way of giving consent.
Yeah.
To the Force,
Yeah.
really. And it's kind of important and endearing that she has that moment.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just this woman who's been imposed to have the chosen.
Yep.
But the fact that she's like, yes, I'm gonna have this baby, and I want to have this baby. And it changes the narrative. It changes the way you think of her motherhood to Anakin. Yeah. And I guess we'll talk about the other interludes now, because most of them are either.
I am sorry, I don't remember what happens in the second.
So the second one is important as well.
Is it?
That's the
Beru.
one,
Okay.
and it's the creation of the White Sons,
Oh, yeah.
which Beru's last name is White Sun. Of course, she married Owen, because Luke's mom, or aunt, Luke's aunt.
Yeah.
Luke's aunt and Owen, Uncle Owen and Emperor. So one we see that Shmi, we see from Beru's perspective, Shmi married, like Shmi getting the food, all that. So we see more of Shmi's life, but we also see that Beru is very important to Tatooine.
Yeah.
And we see once again a powerful mother figure. Because it's very much, you can very easily argue that Beru is more Luke's mom than Padme. Yeah. And not in a bad way. I'm not saying Padme isn't Luke's mom.
No, it's the difference between a biological and emotional.
Yes. And I do think Padme is important to acknowledge that Luke's mom. But I also think it's important to acknowledge that Beru raised him.
Yeah. It's that old thing of they're your parent as much as anyone else's because they were around.
It's the same
And
logic.
they weren't around until like
It's the same logic of like an Uncle Ben and Aunt May from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They are very much the parents, and and the reason that it's important to say that is because they're the ones that create the morals that you grew up with.
Yeah.
And in the case of Beru, we see her morals are very strong and very good, morally speaking. She's part of the White Sun formation, which the White Suns are basically the Underground Railroad of Tatooine. They go out of their way to free slaves, and they work on technology to remove the chips.
Yeah. Which is smart.
Yes. And Shmi is the first one whose chip is removed out of this program. Which is important to note, again, showing the courage that Shmi has. Because she could have blown up.
Yeah.
And they make it very clear that she could have blown up.
They're like, this is so gonna take years.
But Shmi's like, yep, do it. Let's go.
Okay.
Once again, showing how powerful that woman is.
Yeah.
And then Beru, of course, is like, well, I'm going to make this even bigger. We're going to study more about how it makes this technology work better. And it's important because it leads down the line. Because at the beginning of the book, Sabe and Tanra, which Tanra, for those of you who don't know, is one of the royal guards that worked with Padme back then so on. He's one of the background guards, part of Panaka's, of course. And he falls in love with Sabe, and they have a relationship. But Sabe and Tanra have been assigned to Tatooine because in the second book, one of Padme's main goals after episode 1 is free as many of slaves as actually legislatively make this happen without also like breaking any laws on the
Yeah.
hub worlds. Because
Sabe and Tana are taking a far more direct approach,
yeah,
which, to be honest,
which that's what she left them to do.
yeah,
Because she's like, look, we can only do so much legislatively. You guys are going to go and actually make this happen.
the thing is, I don't know if she ordered it or they chose to.
It's a little bit
And
of
to
both.
me,
We'll get to it when we read the second book.
I think it is always better if, while ordered, the order doesn't feel like an order, it feels like a choice.
Which it is. It definitely is, because like Sabe and Tana are definitely happy here, and they're
Yeah.
definitely like they definitely want to do this job because they see the importance of it. But yeah, so
To
they
be honest, it's what kept most of my interest through the, like,
yeah,
first third of the book.
because you said it was a little slow for you at first. And,
Yeah.
But yeah, so by the end of the book, it's important that Baru establishes this because Tanra makes connections to the White Suns, and is like, all right, we're gonna work together because now we have this technology that we can use to make our
Yeah.
planet actually work better.
But at this point in the story, they're like, it's going to take us a while.
Yeah, because right now at the
But
start
we
of the book,
have to go undercover
Yeah.
to get stuff.
at the start of the book, they're undercover and they're trying to gain the trust of people that are part of like groups like the White Suns.
Because last time they came and they pushed too hard, and that
And
caught
that
attention.
yeah, it caught attention from the Hutts, and it also makes it harder to work with people that want to trust you, but are like, are you an undercover cop?
Yeah. You'll want attention from the Huts.
And so, and then the last one that we get is Padme.
Yeah.
No, we get four.
Or
We get Padme, and then we get Freya. Morgana,
oh yeah.
which is also
I'm
great.
so sorry.
So yeah, so the next one we do get is Padme though, and it's when she's like 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 9 because she's the same age as Anakin during that scene. Good. So she, like when she first met Anakin. Obviously she was 14 when she first met Anakin, but I meant like he was 9.
Yeah.
But she's 9 in this flashback, and it shows like why she became, like why she wanted to run into politics,
Yeah.
and it shows why. It shows the importance of why she cares about people.
Yeah.
So basically, her dad was already in politics. He was like, not a governor, but he was like
Something.
an official. And so there were these refugees that were coming in that were sick,
Yeah.
and unfortunately,
And he's like, we can't save them all.
Yeah.
He doesn't say it, but that's the general tone.
yeah. So
And it's not in the like, oh, we can't save them all, so why should we bother? It's more of a case of
we're gonna keep
we're
trying,
going to try,
but just know that.
but know that this probably will end bad.
And unfortunately, it ends way worse than he said.
Yeah.
None of them survived. Because it turns out that they needed a certain sun.
But they looked and they couldn't find it.
Yeah, they couldn't find a planet that fit their environment, and so now that entire race is extinct.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop Padme at 9 from really trying, and like she tried, she kept the kids happy and was friends with them to the best of her ability until they died, and this kind of instills her resolve.
Yeah.
Even because normally this would break somebody, and they'd be like, "Oh well, why should I try?"
I don't need to be a dick. But there's two ways. You're right.
Because there's
There
two
are
ways to
two
react
ways
to
to
this.
do this. It's either this will make the child stronger or it will break them. Not the best mentality.
But that is, and even I'd say not even just a child. This
It's the same
is
for a lot.
how an adult would react too. It creates one of two reactions. You are either gonna break because of just so much emotional like weight.
Yeah.
Because seeing that many people die and then seeing like an entire race go extinct, and there was nothing you could do about it.
Like, I don't even recall if this was an outside, like, planned or anything. I think it was just a thing that happened.
It was just, it was just a thing that happened.
Like, no one planned this one.
No greater
evil thing. It just happened.
Yeah, there's no greater evil as far as we know. It just, and I think so. I mean, yeah, either breaks you or it builds your resolve.
Sometimes the world is fucking cruel for no reason.
And in the case of Padme, it built her resolve.
Yeah.
Once again, showing. I think a lot of people, because of films like, because of specifically Revenge of the Sith and how they portray Padme, people forget how resolved Padme is.
She, I will say this, it takes a weird sense of fucked up determinism to be okay with the fact that you actively know, and we see this in episode 2, that there is a chance that the people you are sending in to look like you will just fucking die.
Yeah.
It is one of those expectations.
And we get a little bit of the reactions to that in this book, because episode 2 we see Dorme die.
Yeah.
No, not Dorme.
No, she's alive.
Sorry, Dorme is the surviving.
Yeah.
The 3. It's Corday.
Corday and Versailles are gone.
Corday and Versailles. Corday we actually see.
Yeah.
Versailles is the one still on the ship when it blows up. But
there is that knowing thing about body doubles when you were using them. There is a chance.
And unfortunately, it's even worse when you build up the sisterhood of these people.
Yeah.
Which she doesn't build up as much as that with the Corday, Versailles, and Dorme as she did with the original.
Yeah.
The original 5. But there's still a little bit of that sisterhood there. Like Dorme is still very much on almost the same scale, but I would argue Sabe is still more so.
I think the difference is with Dorme, it's more like, I needed someone to help me keep books.
And then, but there's still a little bit there, like some stuff, obviously. Not. It's something that Sabe notices when she first arrives on Coruscant. She notices there's a separation between. I'm gonna make a joke. Separation between church and state. It's work-life balance. It's a work-life balance. It's what it really is. So like Padme keeps her work life separate, mostly at this point because of what her private life is like now.
Yeah.
Because by this point she gets married to Anakin.
But the reaction of all the fucking scandals she could have chosen, she chose this one.
Hey, I mean, there's definitely worse scandals.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so, I guess we can talk about the last one as well now.
Yeah.
Breha. So we learned. So Breha is one that a lot of people who know the story of Breha already kind of know, which is that Breha basically had a lot of like disease. I think she had a lung disease, if I remember correctly, and a heart disease. Where basically her heart didn't work. Basically, she had a congenital heart disease, but to the point that she's gonna die.
Yeah.
And so she got, rather than go through the process of like dealing with doctors of getting replacement and all that, she basically gets an iron replacement. And she's like, she wants, rather than giving up, very similar to the others that we talked about in these interludes. She resolves herself to still be about the people more than herself.
Yeah.
Even though she's dying. But the people admire that because that's just what a leader does. And so the people rally behind her and are like, hey, you're going to make sure that you're taking care of them.
Yeah.
And so they basically make sure that she has what she needs to live. And then on top of that, she continues to look out for them. And then she finds love for Bell. A man who's willing to take her name rather than keep his own. Because he just loves her that much and recognizes the importance of her having her name.
Yeah.
And so he becomes Bell Organa, he becomes the senator that we know.
Yeah.
And then it's part of the reason why she can't have children, which is important for episode 3.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, we want a daughter, but we
couldn't have one.
So Leia becomes a daughter eventually. And so it's important to see. We basically see all of the great mothers of Star Wars through these interludes.
Yeah.
Because we get Shmi, the mother of all mothers. Really.
Yeah.
We get Beru, the original mother. Padme, the mother of Luke and Leia, and then we get Breha, the adopted the mother of Leia, similar to Beru, is the one that installs these morals. Because Brea installed these morals in Leia, along with Bell. I mean, Bell and they and Brea need to be recognized as the parents they are.
Yeah.
Because once again, like with Beru, in this case though it's adopted, and adoptive parents are just as important. Because adoptive parents are the ones that love you enough to bring you in and take care of you and raise you. If you're in the right circumstances. In this case, they are good parents. We will acknowledge that. Basically, not praise them, you know. It's
Like, I can understand it, except that we haven't seen any, but based on, like, actions over the course of the series, we can see.
and the fact that we've seen Leia's morals.
Yeah.
That's because that's by the time of episode 4, it's 19 years of morals that have been instilled in her. You know, fight for justice, do what's right, take care of your people. You know,
It is a shame that those people will never see the future work.
yeah. I mean, I think they see the early fruits of it, but they don't, you know, see
They
the
don't see it.
they don't see the conclusion yet. Especially Bell and Brea, they unfortunately get the worst end of it by being on Alderaan. I mean, I guess we don't know if Brea was still around. We know Bell was because we see him in Rogue One, but if Bell shows up in Rogue One, it's like, all right, I'm going back to Alderaan.
Oh.
Which tells us, because for a while we didn't know for sure. We were like, yeah, more than likely they're dead, but we never got like, oh, they're dead. Yeah, and so like, yeah, dead.
Yeah.
And the only one that, yeah, and then of course Beru dies in episode 4.
Fucking greatest freak.
So yeah, so that's just the interludes, man. We haven't even gotten to the meat of the actual book.
So
Yes. So let's get back to the meat of the actual book. So Sabe and Thomas. No. Let's finish the way. So Padme and Anakin go off to do their mission to bring these people back home.
as I call them punk kids.
But they're really not.
Well, we only see one of them.
Yeah, and as far as we know. So so Anakin judges them a little harshly. Because they get there and they find out that the reason these kids are there are because they indulge in spice.
Yeah.
Which Anakin immediately is like, oh, you do spice, that's illegal. And then the kid's like, wait. You do it because of medical reasons.
That's the one. I believe the kid on crutches who can't use his legs. I don't see any of the other ones.
But
so
we also don't know, like,
we don't know. So.
But he's like, for the most part, they only do it because of medical reasons.
Yeah.
That or it's, he doesn't say, but we also can assume that there's a case of some people that are just addicted.
Yeah.
And we can't really judge those people too hard, because we've seen in real world equivalents of addiction is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need somewhere where you can safely. Now we're getting into politics of real world, but
I think we should drop this one.
yeah, we should drop this one. It's especially because it's a current argument that's going on.
It's
I side me, but I think but
no, you know what? We
no.
haven't shied away from this.
No, I think
So go ahead.
So yeah, so no, people should be allowed to have somewhere safe to do this because the numbers have proven that if you provide a safe place to do this, there is a 100% survival rate, and also I forget the number. I don't know the numbers, but a lot of people who go to these places eventually stop because they are going somewhere where they're not going to die and they're going to have time to cut off slowly rather than. Because that's just the reality. You can't pull turkey, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And so spice is very. I imagine there are people on this world that are very similar, having to deal with. Well, we can't go anywhere else because it's illegal.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go to Hut Space, but who wants to go there?
So like it's either here at but Arc Planet or
Hut space,
Hut Space, the crime fucking
where people will take advantage of us because we're drunk.
yeah.
Well, drunk. Because we are addicted. I
Yeah.
would say better word. Because we are addicted or we need the medicinal.
I understand the decision. Well, I don't agree with it. I understand it.
Yeah.
Because
I do think Anakin was a little much.
yeah.
A little much.
I think the other.
But yeah. Anyways, so going back into it, we learned that basically the main reason that they were acting there is just really to save one person.
Yeah.
And it's the only person who wants to leave.
Yeah, they're like. I understand.
That you're looking out for us, but we can't leave.
Yeah, but because this is a request from my sister,
Yeah, Queen Jamila.
I will do this. I will go back, even if it's harder.
Yeah, they're really there for Queen Jamila's sister.
Yeah.
Which
The others were offered, but they.
were like, nah, we're good. No, we're good. Not because we don't want to, but just because we can't.
Yeah.
And so they do that, and then they go, all right, time for our wedding. And then the wedding happens. We see a little bit of behind the scenes of that. We see a little bit of like secret view freaking out, having to get having to get somebody to officiate and all that stuff. Get guests, get like a guest, really, which secret view and R2 for that one. If they have to have a witness.
Yeah.
It's gotta be official.
I'm not.
Now, during this whole time, she is on. Padme has basically claimed this as time to heal.
Yeah.
From her injuries sustained on Geonosis, which is fair.
Yeah.
So that's why the Senate's not like, hey, why is she not back yet? Because she's a senator and we
Yeah.
got laws going on, especially now that there's war. Because, that's going to create a very busy Senate.
Yeah.
Which, of course, Bell and Mon Mothma are, very busy because of this. Speaking of
Yeah.
Bell.
They're trying to get some work done.
Yeah. And so Anakin and Padme are like, all right, well, let's, do a honeymoon. We'll stay here on Naboo. Go
Yeah.
out to the country where nobody can find us. Basically living their same life that they lived during Attack of the Clones
Yeah.
when they were in hiding.
I think they get like 3 weeks of it.
Mm-hmm. And so they have deep conversation. They have a tickle fight.
Apparently, they fucking love it.
Yeah, they have an actual, you can see why Padme loves Anakin.
Yeah.
Because that's something that the movies kind of do poorly.
I think they try. They're just not.
And it's why a lot of people are like, have the same reaction as Sabe to the,
Yeah.
oh, what are you doing marrying this guy? And a lot of fans have a very similar reaction, but they have more of a reaction because of meta knowledge that we have of becomes our Vader.
Yeah.
And also the Tusken Raider scene kind of makes people question her. But
Yeah.
I don't view it that way. I view it as her at first trying to comfort him as a friend. Because she can tell that the other thing that we have to acknowledge in the Tusken Raider scene is that he acknowledges that he did something bad.
He's like, it's kind of hard to be mad at someone when they are like 100% like, yeah, no, I was wrong about what I did in regards to that.
Because she doesn't.
On the other hand,
Because she tries talking to him, right? At first, and he's freaking out and he's mad at Obi-Wan, and then he breaks down, and then he says, I fucked up, I killed all these people, and then he breaks down and is like, I made a mistake, and that is when she comforts him. After he acknowledges his mistake, she doesn't say what you did is fine. She just comforts him.
Yeah.
And that's something that I see more as a friend doing, like a friend acting that way, like trying to calm you down and be like, hey, what's wrong? And then when you hear this awful thing that your friend did,
Yeah.
but if your friend is like honestly remorseful for it, which Anakin is,
yeah.
in that moment he's
That
honestly
moment,
remorseful.
like he has these moments of remorse throughout the series.
Yeah. The problem is the things he does build and build and build.
Yeah.
I'd say like another example of remorse is the Mace Windu one.
Yeah.
But that one I don't feel is honest remorse. It doesn't feel the same as the Tusken Raider. Now, of course, he might be honest. It's not my place to say, oh, your reaction is not honest.
No.
That is not my place.
I'm
to
not
say.
going to say that. The way that I understand it is the Tusken Raider incident. He finds his mom and she immediately dies. Of course, that's going to elicit, especially when the criminal is like right there.
And
Criminal.
And as far as we
The
know,
perpetrator. is
and even though it's a dark place, even though it's a dark place to go, and it's somewhere that we probably shouldn't think about with the Tuskens, especially with hindsight of them being Nate now according to Nate.
Yeah.
It's kind of unfortunate that it kind of looks like that she wasn't just. There's a reason she was kind of there.
Yeah. It implies some things that are not very great.
No, and it's kind of unfortunate that that implication is there. But because of that implication, it's something that I bet Anakin would have seen and immediately thought of as well.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, this is bad. I understand why you did it, though.
Yeah,
With Mace Windu,
it's a little bit harder to excuse. It's a lot harder.
it's a lot harder to excuse. It's kind of like there's this fucking kid that's always been doing better than me in school.
Well, in the case of Anakin, it's more like you told the principal about this bad kid, and then you're like, oh, never mind. Actually, I'm gonna help this kid.
It's not the way I'm looking at it.
Or like you told the police about this very dangerous criminal, and then you're like, oh, never mind. Actually, I'm part of the criminals group now too.
Yeah. However, it's after they have like viciously beaten the criminal like half to death, and then they fucking
Like-
play it up.
Yeah, and the criminal is like pretending to be weak, but they're not.
Yeah.
But of course, he doesn't start acting until Anakin's in the room.
Yeah. Because why would he?
Well, also Palpatine's not a manipulator. That's his.
Yeah.
That's his thing. He is a manipulator, and dare I say it, a groomer.
Yeah.
Because he groomed Anakin. Now, when we think groomer, it means something different, but it can mean a lot of things. And in this case, he groomed Anakin to act because from childhood, he was like,
And at that point about
let's see, he's 21 by Revenge of the Sith. He's 9 in episode 1.
11 years to work on that. In
And
addition to all the other shit.
And in one of the comics that we're gonna get to later, we see the first time that like him and Anakin are alone, and it's when Anakin's still a kid. It's like not long after the Phantom Menace. So like maybe he's 10, but I can't remember if he's 9 or 10. If he's still 9 or if he's 10 by the time of that comic. But yeah, him and Palpatine have alone time, and it's very much gives rumor vibes. Like they go downtown to a club and everything. It's like, and like, yeah. And he starts his lessons early. Hey,
Where are we laying this old man? You're a kid.
yeah. Anyways, so yeah, going back to it. We can see why. We can see, especially in this book, why Padme loves Anakin.
Yeah.
And I think that's
It's weird.
It's important
that there
to see.
is.
It's important to see because fans don't always get it, and I think it's important that we see why.
There, to me, is a sincerity in who Anakin is.
That's the other thing.
He
Anakin is
doesn't
very
change.
sincere.
The world and his circumstances do, and it's not
Unfortunately-
quite an Elzar situation
Yeah.
where he keeps ending up in bad situations,
It's
but
it's very similar though.
it's very similar. I'm like,
And unfortunately for Anakin, because he doesn't want the world to change, it kind of leads him down the Star Wars version of the alt-right. He basically is like, well, I don't want the world to change, so I guess I gotta control it because that's the only way to do it.
it doesn't help that everyone's telling him like he's got this brand destiny as well.
Yeah. He's got chosen one syndrome.
Yeah.
It's why you never tell a chosen one that they're the chosen one.
That fucking prophecies are great.
Now, of course, obviously the argument is that he's not the chosen one, that there's a bunch of chosen ones. Because, once again, going back to our earlier discussion, evil always comes back. So, chosen ones will always rise up. Anyways, so yeah, we get to see a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back on Coruscant, Bill and Mon Mothma are like, they've gotten a message through the Jedi because Yoda gets the message first. Hey, this company that is working with working on the fringe, and it's like a small company. They're like, hey, we want to help the Republic somehow, but we want to talk to a senator.
Yeah. We also can't.
Meet publicly.
Yeah.
So they'll have to come talk to us.
Yep.
And it has to be undercover. And so Yoda's like, well, I guess I'll tell the Loyalists party, which consists of Mon Mothma, Bill, and Padme, and a few others.
Yep.
Uncle Otto from Clone Wars, who is, at this point, Bill is sus of, because this is when Uncle Otto, on account of far, for those people who have not watched Clone Wars, Senator, is kind of starting to make relations with the Trade Federation, which is important to Clone Wars. So Bill was not quite sure about my conflict. So this is a part of me meeting between Bill and Mon Mothma. He's like, well, we need to get Padme back because she's probably the best for this.
Yeah.
Because Bill kind of reveals, he's like, yeah, she has a double. And so we need somebody who can be both at the Senate and doing this because we can't go missing. And if I go missing, it's big because Bill is basically the leader of their party. And if Mon Mothma goes missing, basically same idea, she's the big leader of the party. So they're like, Padme's the best option.
The only option, really.
Yeah. And so they reach out to Padme, who at this point is finishing up her honeymoon. She's like, okay, well, I'll reach out to Sabe.
Because I can't.
None of the other handmaidens would really fit for this task. Even though we just hired, because they just hired somebody new to their group. Ellie and Mote, but then also, or is she part of it, or are they part of it? They part of something else. Are they part of the legislature? Yeah, they're part of the legislature.
Tipo
is part of the legislature, right?
Not
part of.
There was
not part of.
senatorial aid.
Okay, so then say Tipo works for. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But not in the same function as the
No. Because I was just remembering that we also, during this time, is when the hiring process is, because that Captain,
it's either Connor or Typho.
All these C names.
See, this is what I was talking about.
Typho is hiring people to work on the Senate side, senatorial aides and all that. So LA and Mote are hired. More for their skills and not for their like.
Dorme is the one who reviews their qualifications.
Yes. Tycho kind of approves. He's basically the approver.
Essentially, if he says yes, then they're good.
Yeah. And so, and then, is the last one that's hired. And once again, that's another case of not because of your looks, because once again, they go by the pronouns she, which are newer pronouns to really like. Well, it's a non-binary pronouns, and so very similar to they them, but like another way.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, because I it's hard for me to pronounce it. J. I'm trying to be very conscious because I want to respect the characters. J are kind of concerned.
Yeah.
Because suppose like, but I don't look like.
They're like, well, good thing we don't need you to look like them.
Because suppose like, well, because sometimes I like to dress more feminine or more masculine depending on the day.
Yeah.
Because it's not binary. And Dorme and Typho are like, That's okay. That works out.
That's okay because we don't need you to look like her.
And so, like, in fact, sometimes you can just dress as a guard.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, perfect.
Yeah. What Tipo does is essentially they are exactly what Scrubland asked earlier.
Yeah, they're an
aid.
Yeah.
And they are
I know
with
later on they help with Sachet.
Sache on
That's what-
Oreo. They're working on trade agreement because
Well-
Panaka brought up some shit they should have stayed quiet about because Palpatine did some fuck shit.
Yeah, so apparently when Palpatine was senator, and when
I like to review old documents.
when Palpatine was senator, they made some questionable documents.
He didn't make them; they
No.
were already there. He just went and found them.
Yeah.
It's like
But he
you have this
did
whole law.
use them.
He did use them in the sense of a politician using something like, I found this old rule in the books that we can go and use these motherfuckers whenever we want.
Yeah, so basically
That's
Naboo-
basically the rule.
basically Naboo and their other like sister planets that
Yeah.
are in the system. Basically Naboo can basically screw them over in trade agreements.
Yeah. It's not trade agreements,
But like
but it's pretty close.
yeah, they're just like, hey, we need that resource.
Yeah. Whatever the resource is, it doesn't matter. If who wants it, it'll get it.
Yeah. And it's because initially the law is because, well, these planets were more colonies of Naboo,
Yeah.
less than independent systems. But now they're independent systems.
Yeah.
Which brings us to Sachet and, well, it's really just Sachet's mission. Really.
Yeah.
Yara stays home.
Yeah.
Yara is
Because
watching the
they
kids.
adopted
They adopted a lot of children.
from Mudslide disaster.
Yeah.
And so Sache goes with the help of Tipo to sort
Along, yeah, and meets up with an old sling/friend.
to, I don't know, I don't remember the name of the friend, mostly because I don't have the context, but the other two books.
Yeah. I forget her name right now
And
too.
so-
Hold on, give me a second.
They're essentially like, look, we know this treaty from like ages ago is like extremely unfair. So let's go and talk this out and figure out an actual solution that doesn't fuck you guys over.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading something behind the scenes stuff. I'll forget the names. Turns out that Brotherhood and Queen's Hope were supposed to come out even closer originally. Once I see it, I'll remember. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's the name. Harley. Harley Japan.
Yep. Okay.
From the planet Japan.
Yeah.
Which is why Harley was involved, because I think it's Japan that like Japan's one of the planets that's and so back in book 1, which is pre-episode 1, Harley kissed Sabe, I think I remember. I forget which one. I want to say Sabe. Believing it was Padme.
Oh.
That's why they mentioned the kiss in this book. And so, because they snuck out to a concert,
Oh yeah.
and then Harley kissed Sabe thinking it was Padme. Padme didn't care about going to the concert, if I remember correctly. And Sabe was like, but I want to go. And so,
Oh yeah, I think that's the part where they're giving another type of talking with Grieve about like fireworks.
yeah.
He's like, I don't fucking know about fireworks.
Yeah, and so they have history, and so while they have a friendship, kind of, then obviously Harley still has to be tough on it. Be like,
Yeah.
hey, we gotta, because they also brought one of the other representatives for Naboo.
Yeah. So Harley and such.
So
Okay.
Sachet, Harley,
Don't-
and Tapo, and
Some other guy.
some other guy, some representative from
Yeah.
Naboo.
They're all the general thing that all of them are kind of about is like,
We need a new law,
we need a new law.
one that gets rid of the restrictions on you guys,
Yeah.
but we just need something new on the books. That way we can also appease the people that want to keep a law.
Yeah.
Even though we don't, like,
They're
everybody there is like, we don't care for this
We
law.
don't want it, but because of our job, we have to do it.
because there's people that they represent who do want the law,
Yeah.
and so they're like, or at least a law, something that will, keep the relationship between Japan and Naboo.
Yeah.
And so, so what they agreed on is, well, we're going to create a new law that restricts all the stuff that we've been trying to do.
Yeah.
And the only way that it can be undone is if the
The
queen,
queen,
the
the representative,
representative, and I think the senator.
not the senator. It's essentially the rest of.
Oh yeah, the rest of the house of
Yeah.
Naboo, like
It
that.
would be like if you needed
The House,
the
Senate,
president, the Senate, and the House and Congress all to agree on one thing.
And so, which, much like real life, almost
Ain't
never,
gonna
it almost never happens.
Like the chance of an entirely unanimous vote, they're like, no one will ever fucking do this.
So they agreed. They're like, okay, perfect. That's a great
Yeah.
way to do it, because that one, it makes sure that if this
If
law,
it ever
this law
actually
is
gets
removed,
that bad,
then yeah, if it ever actually gets that bad, then of course it's going to be removed. But that means that it just can't be removed for any reason.
yeah.
So yeah, this of course upsets Palpatine.
It's this where he has the
It's
little
this
freak out.
It's this great moment that I had to highlight, because so
He's
he had the physical book, and I had the ebook, and of course I'm reading all the.
Yeah.
The great thing about Kindle ebooks is you get to see if a certain number of people start highlighting sections, you see top highlighted moments, but then you can also highlight moments, and so anytime Palpatine freaked out, those were highlight moments for me.
Palpatine.
Oh, he's so mad. He's like, I want to just burn Coruscant and kill so many people.
Like, oh. Essentially, it's like, stop me now. I'll fucking get you.
I'll get you
It'll
next
take
time.
a while, but I'll get you. And I'm like, and you know what the weird internal thing
it's like, it makes me think of Inspector Gadget. I'll get you next time, Gadget.
Not for me. I think there was a
He's
weird
long.
vibe thought for it. For me,
Yeah.
I was like, you ain't no Martian, bro.
I don't know though. I'd say they both have a very similar talent for manipulating.
I would say so, yes.
And I would honestly say Palpatine's kind of scarier in that he managed to cause a war that he was in control of both sides of.
Yeah. I think.
Markion is more scary for a different reason.
He's scary in the terms of a tactician. It's
Yeah.
scary.
He's scary because he's not a force user.
Yeah. He's scary because he's I'm fighting enemies who are bigger, not necessarily faster.
And also they're fighting a different fight. Markion is trying to make the Republic scared, whereas Palpatine is also trying to get the Republic scared for control reasons.
Yeah.
Whereas Markion is just trying to destroy them. Palpatine is trying to create fear. So that way, it's the authoritarian level type of fear. He's an authoritarian trying to create fear so that way he can control them more. Because that's what authoritarians do. Markion is more of an anarchist.
Markion is trying to break the Republic. Palpatine is trying to shift its form and control it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want it destroyed
Yeah.
because it benefits him to have it around.
Yeah. Now, of course, the Senate doesn't work for him, which is why he gets rid of it.
Yeah.
Once he has unlimited power, he gets rid of it. But, well, he doesn't immediately. He doesn't dissolve it until almost a little before episode 4. But it is on his agenda
Yeah, to-do list. Get rid of Senate.
because I am the Senate. But yeah, so it's an argument of an anarchist versus an authoritarian.
Yeah.
So Markion's an anarchist who wants to see the world burn, whereas Palpatine's an authoritarian who.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a very deep allegory. It's right there in front of you.
Yeah.
So,
But
anyways,
continuing on.
so Padme comes back. And she calls Sabe and she's like, hey, I need you to come back from Tatooine.
Yeah.
So you can do
Sabe
this for
is
me.
like, I'll do it. I don't want to, but I'll do it
Because you're my queen.
because you asked me to. And you're my friend and my boss.
Yeah. Well, it's the you're my queen, even though you're not a queen anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you will always be my queen. Look. You have my hand, but you can't. That line. Anyways, we'll come back to that
Yeah.
line.
In terms of like
But yes.
stuff from that line, I'm like, this is almost the equivalent of shooting the boss at the end of Advance 3.
Yeah. So.
Where
Hey.
it's like you have to do it because
So yeah. So she goes back and immediately is like, man, things are different.
yeah, she's like, it's weird.
This is your schedule now. It's so weird. Which Padme doesn't call her until after she wins the job.
Yeah.
Which she has to go all the way to Coruscant to do. Which immediately, let's talk about the marriage of Anakin and Padme a little bit, and the the red flags of failure of this marriage that are already presenting.
Step 1, fucking no one knows.
Step 2, build on top of those lies
Yeah.
by going, well,
The thing is,
she never,
if she had just fucking told her handmaids what to
Well,
expect.
I was also going to talk about the Anakin joke before that. Anakin's like, oh, I'm going to write separate
Oh, yeah.
because work-life balance.
Yeah.
And then, who gets upset about the work-life balance later on in this book?
Oh, that's right. Forgot about that. I was trying. I'm sorry, I was too
So-
busy
so
trying to
immediately-
remember all the other shit.
So immediately we see the red flags
Yeah.
of why this marriage is going to fall apart.
Well,
You know what they say, when you build a marriage on lies, it's almost like something that Padme said. In fact, clones. They'd be living a lie or something.
yeah. And now
You know,
they're
maybe
living
I'm
that lie.
maybe I'm imagining it. I
No, not for this one.
don't know.
I can only imagine. Do you think there was ever like a conversation between fucking Obi-Wan and Anakin as they're like driving to some far off planet? Where Anakin goes, so Satine, huh? And Obi-Wan just says, don't throw stones at glass houses, Anakin.
Yeah. So let's
He fucking knows.
I guess we'll speed run this a little bit because we're already 2.5 hours in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
And we are past lunchtime, and I told you we'd stop for lunch.
Uh.
We're hitting dinner time, right?
Okay.
And we're gonna play Lego Star Wars today. At least try. I don't think we're gonna now. Actually, with it being this late.
Well, that's okay.
We'll figure it out though, because we gotta get your original answer
Yeah.
trilogy. We'll figure it out on screen.
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright.
So, speed run. So yeah, Sabe does the job, and Padme goes to do her job, which she brings Piper with her, and she gets on a ship. They go undercover as bodyguards for a ship that are piloted by Wookiees, a Wookiee couple, and it's amazing. And then there's like the bird girl,
Yes.
who E.K. Johnson made Baby Shark canon Star Wars. That's the bird girl sings it all the time.
Oh, you know what? It's the first bird person we meet that doesn't eat people.
I think it's a different type.
Oh.
Another person though. I think it's a different race.
Okay.
But she's like a child or something.
Yeah.
And so, I have to check my facts on it. I think she's different. I can't remember.
Okay.
Once again, you have more fresh memory of this than I do.
She's cool.
Yeah. And so,
She likes preparing shit.
yeah, she likes preparing, and that's why she's kind of on board the ship.
Yeah.
She hates their droid that they have.
G1.
What's that?
G1 FY.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just
Jiffy.
going to call him G1.
Jiffy. I think it's done on a Jiffy.
That would good. That's. I'm sorry.
Who it turns out, well, we'll get to that. So,
Yeah,
Let's go back to Coruscant.
Actually.
let's go back to Coruscant.
Coruscant.
Where somebody's like, man, this is weird. I don't get how this is working, but let's do this.
Yeah.
And so, like, she has.
Imagine if you were an actor, you weren't given a script for a play, but everyone.
Yeah, she gives a schedule, but that's it.
Yeah.
She's shown
Figure it out.
Yeah, she knows her blocking, but not her lines.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of weird because a couple things happen. One, Palpatine was like, "Hey, so I hear that certain actually before that, let's focus on Anakin and Obi-Wan, who do a frontline thing. Anakin meets the clones, and like we get to see that Anakin bonding pretty well with the clones.
Yeah.
In fact, we meet a character named Sister, who's transgender clone. Anakin's very accepting,
Yeah.
which is nice to see. But that makes sense. Anakin is usually very accepting of people.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why Captain probably loves him. Very accepting
It's accepting as long as like.
to a fault.
Yeah.
That's probably to a fault.
Yeah.
And so they have a battle and
She explains like, oh, when clone troopers die, you leave their helmets
yeah,
in the general area where they die.
as a respect thing, and also
Yeah.
like it's just a warrior thing. So
So there's that.
Uh,
Obi-Wan
but
kind
so-
of is like, okay, maybe you could fucking to Anakin, fucking chill.
Yeah.
Like Anakin is going crazy.
yeah, Anakin is like
Everything's destroyed.
kind of bloodlusting, but not really, because no blood.
Like, cool, man. Obi-Wan's over here like, thank God we have a fucking PG-13 rating.
But yeah, and Obi-Wan's like, man, he might have been made for this. That's kind of scary. So anyways, after that battle happens, converting back to Coruscant, Palpatine's like to Sabe, who he thinks is Padme at the time, is like, hey, so I heard some Jedi are coming back. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And Sabe does not get it.
She doesn't get it, which is
Which Palpatine's like, that's not the reaction I was getting.
it's like more okay, fine, I guess.
And that's when Palpatine starts like fluid on like, man, this might not be who I think it is. Because this is at a party that Bill associated. Where like it's a loyalist party with a few other politicians there. And it's supposed to be like, just a little like it's a work party.
Yeah, it's like, oh, put this on
Put this
the
in
back burner.
put this on the back burner and look into it later.
So they do that. She almost has like a freak out.
And so basically that night, she goes to bed because
Up until this point,
up until this point she has this like 4-hour block period where like
yeah.
by herself and she's like, I don't know what's happening. Does she meditate now? What is she doing? I'm so bored. And then tonight, that night, she's like, well, I'm just gonna go to sleep, I guess.
Yeah.
And sure enough, then like the doors open. She's like, wait, who knows how to get in here without setting off the alarms? And
Someone break into my apartment?
then we skip point of views.
Yeah.
But of course, I think we all know who it is.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm like, Pepe, I understand.
yeah, because Padme was gonna tell Sabe. She was like, that would change our friendship.
Yeah. Yeah, fucking didn't it?
So we could even get a secret. And so I guess we could just continue talking about that storyline. It's Anakin.
Anakin, because he's like,
Anakin's like, oh, I'm coming home with my wife. Yeah, we're gonna have some wife hubby time. And then he sees somebody else in her bed.
and joke from earlier last person that trespassed your fucking
Last person that was in your bed that wasn't you.
is dead now.
But no, he is kind of in spots.
Yeah, he's like, where the fuck is my wife?
And then eventually they figure out who's who because R2 and 3PO come in and they put two and two together. They're like, oh. And Sabe is still like angry about her, rightfully so.
Yeah.
And so Anakin's like, I'll sleep on the floor. I'll sleep on the floor in the living room. I don't even need blankets or anything. And she's like, no, here, take them anyways.
Yeah. He's like, I would love to get the fuck out of here, but I can't because of how our
The alarm,
locks
yeah,
work.
because our alarm's set for another 8 hours, and if I mess with them, then it'll look weird.
Yeah. So it's just gonna go sleep on the floor.
Yeah, and so he does that, and then by the time she wakes up, he's already gone.
Yeah.
And she's still kind of mad.
Like, how could she not tell me?
There's that, and also like, what did she see in him? She said she's like, man, like you said, out of all the scandals,
Yeah, that's their
Because she's like,
the exact line of all the scandals she could have shown.
because like later on she's like, she says something.
So
I always figured that her heart would go to the planet.
yeah, that's the thing that apparently Sanche.
Because Sabe's a
Sabe.
little sore because Sabe also had romantic feelings for
So
Padme.
Padme explained a long time ago, it's either going to go to the planet or it's going to go to a person, and it's going to be
Disaster. It's gonna be
uncompromising and
disastrous. Way to predict that, Padme. You should be a Jedi.
Yeah, maybe you could have seen some of the fucking problems.
But yeah, so Sabe's a little bit.
God,
Well,
I'm being
Sabe-
real harsh on everybody today.
Sabe's a little bit sore, which Anakin doesn't help because he's like, oh, you're just jealous. 'Cause I assume that Padme's about that at some point.
Maybe not. My assumption is, unless it's brought up, characters don't know.
Yeah. I don't know why Anakin, but yeah, Anakin put a little salt in the wound there.
But then again, he also, for lack of a better term,
Although,
does have magic.
if anything though, it might be he's just talking on a friendship level.
Yeah.
And that's just brought up her memories and being like, oh, I can love her, but that's her.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so, but we also see the difference between
Yeah.
the love that they have. Sabe is going to let Padme go versus what we see Anakin
I
later.
don't necessarily think it's that.
But we do kind of see like,
I think it's one of
Sabe.
those things where you were so different from the person I fell in love with.
but I'm talking about even before this, like
Oh,
when Sabe kind of just agreed to be like, okay, we're
Oh,
close friends,
yeah,
sisters,
that's
versus say when Anakin,
what Anakin.
how Anakin perceived love.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, serious problem mania at that point.
so yeah, so then they go to a Jedi party
Yeah.
where basically senators and Jedi are talking, kind of like talking about the difference between the war front and all that. Because during the night before, Sabe did ask Anakin how things were, and Anakin was like, "Yeah, it's pretty rough,
Yeah.
but he's like, it's fine.
It's like it's actually really simple. All I have to do
It's stop the bad guys."
stop. All I have to do is cut down every motherfucker in front of me, and eventually I'll just get to the ones that caused the problem.
Yeah, because Anakin, once again,
I mean, he does finish the job pretty fucking hard.
because Anakin is very black and white on
Yeah.
things, and it's kind of, once again, it goes into the problems of Anakin, all that are
Pretty.
things that are good about Anakin that are also problems.
Yeah. Pretty uncom. They bring it up, and they're like, he is an uncompromising.
Which is another
justice.
Which is another reason that Padme probably loves him. And she makes the joke of, well, with you two on the case, the war's gonna be done in no time.
Yeah.
Which is a joke, but she's like kind of serious about.
Yeah. Just like, yeah, it's cool. I don't know how symptoms you can manage this.
And so the next day, Jedi meeting between senators and Jedi, and everybody, she's meeting other Jedi, and we get a cameo of the worst Jedi ever, Mr. Umbar himself. Did you catch that cameo? So you remember when Yoda and Obi-Wan, or Yoda and I forget the other Jedi just talked about. I think it was either Mace or one of the other Jedi. They were talking about how the clones all have personalities. It should be.
Oh, dickhead.
Yeah, Pong
That's
Krell.
him.
Pong Krell.
I know. He's got 4 arms, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's
Fuck
the
that
same
guy.
race as Dex.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, he's just like,
Because he refers to the clones not by their nicknames, which
He
they
goes by their
they
numbers.
goes by their fucking numbers.
yeah, and
Like-
Yoda and this other Jedi are like, yeah, they've all got really good personalities. You know, it's very important that we like recognize that. And then the book's like, and then this other Jedi scoffed.
Like,
And it's like, but he didn't say anything out loud because nobody agrees out loud. Disagrees out loud with Master Yoda. And it's like, oh, we know who that is because they described the race and everything. And it's like, yeah, so that was his little cameo. It's good to see even at the beginning of the war, he was an asshole.
hey, CG24583. How's your day going?
CT 5555. Four fives.
To be honest, it takes an extreme amount of patron dedication to actively refuse.
It's basically, I mean, since we've already had the transgender stuff, it's kind of dead naming in a way. If you know the term, it's kind of like dead naming.
No, I think it might help with the we have reserved attitude.
Yeah, but it's definitely like in the same vein as dead naming.
I don't.
So dead naming is for transgender is where you use the original name and so you use transition. So you know how you use transition, you're like,
Oh, take a new name.
take your name. That way it fits how they feel.
Alright.
Dead naming is where you say their name, the old name, and usually it's reserved for when you're actively using the old name, like being an asshole. And so, yeah, it's that same person, like it's definitely that same, it's got that same energy of like, I hate you so much, I'm just gonna dead name you.
See, for me, it's not.
Cause like, it's got that same energy to me. Cause
I
like that, you gotta have a lot of hate and energy to actively do that.
Yeah.
And it's,
I'm
and I feel that I have that, and I feel the same way about transgender dating. You've got to have a lot of hate and energy to actively like say something every time you talk to them, rather than
I don't like that he does it either, but it's for a different reason.
yeah. But it's got that same yeah.
The same energy. It is one we have reserves. We can always make more of you. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. The other problem
they're all
is
from the literal same person.
The other problem
but
is treating
they
them like
don't act
droids.
the same.
yeah. The other problem is treating them like droids, like he has to be replaced, which is not entirely true.
Yeah, that's how cloning works.
One, it's expensive, and two, they're people.
Yeah.
I mean, ignoring the expenses, they are people.
Yeah.
But two, it's expensive. I mean, if you want to ignore that they're people, it's an asshole. If you want to just look at it logically, it's expensive. And in fact, there are a lot of episodes of Clone Wars that go over how expensive it is and how they have to keep basically putting the government in debt to pay the Kaminoans off for each new batch. Well, he did do he is the one who hired him.
I don't think he ever meant for it to go this far.
No. I think we'll talk about it when we get to an episode of Clone Wars that has to do with that. But yeah. So
Not Panaka. He's not. Panaka's not great. Not Cyphobius.
Punk Crow.
Punkro, that's the thing. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
As a guy who like goes and looks over like military strategy, fuck him. That's a sign of a bad leader.
Yeah. Like it's all like once again logistically, you shouldn't just be sending your troops out to die.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously by the Umbara arc, he doesn't care because by the Umbara arc, he's like, well, I'm failing this on purpose so that way I can join the dark side. But early in the war, why are you doing it? Yeah. So once again, Anakin and like while Sabe is trying to actually talk to these Jedi and like learn about the war when she talks to Varys, we get a little bit of early Varys is going to become a bomber energy because
She's like,
we start to see the energy behind like Varys
it's not that I'm
become the
scared.
terrorists.
It's not that I'm scared to fight it, it's that I would prefer not to fight it this way.
Yeah. It's also like I'm a Jedi. You probably shouldn't be fighting.
Yeah.
And also I'm a child, so therefore PTSD. And he's like, I fought at the battlefield. This is good enough for me. I'm just gonna be a healer in the background and not go onto the front for a long time.
I might just fucking not.
Yeah. And then we get Kanan's master, Kevin Balava,
Yeah.
who has a kind of an opposite feeling of like she like respects the
She's like, no, I get it, but we have to go out there anyway.
yeah. She's like it's kind of our duty to protect people, or in this case, protecting people requires us to
Yeah.
do this. And so we get a good rounding of like ideology during this time. And then Anakin's like, hey, Padme, come talk to me. I gotta talk to you about something privately. And somebody's like, God damn, you're gonna ruin my cover.
Yes.
Also, you're gonna ruin my cover.
Yeah, he also just goes, I'm sorry. And then
I told you, he's like, I told you it's time to apologize. You're not kidding. And she's like, apology accepted, but is that really why you did this?
He's like, yes. And he leaves.
Also, he got called away. That's also like,
I think she also notices that Obi-Wan's over there kind of looking at him, and she's like, he wouldn't fucking release that in public, because that's not what Obi-Wan does.
oh yeah, because she's wondering who all can tell that she's
Yeah.
not Padme, and she's like, Obi-Wan figured it out
But he's
last
not
time,
saying
but he's not saying anything. He probably won't say anything because he respects it. And so, but yeah, so back with Padme now.
Yeah.
Padme and Tycho do a lot of things.
Yeah.
One, they get into a war zone
Yeah.
where they help out in the war zone.
They help out.
Because basically very similar situation to the Naboo in episode 1, where the Trade Federation's like, hey, we're blockading you, and we're stealing
one city that's under siege.
and also we kidnapped like your granddaughter, so that way to force you to sign this treaty. Once again, Trade Federation has their treaties again.
Yeah.
And Padme's like, well, I recognize this. All right, let's go help them. And so she works with the clones, not telling them that she's a senator.
General Six.
Yeah, General Six. General Six is awesome. And so she helps General Six, and they're like, all right, we're going to surprise attack because this is a smuggler ship, essentially.
It's
A supply ship.
not necessarily a smuggler ship. It's just like,
It's a civilian ship. It's
yeah.
not-
So they're not going to be able to do anything.
they're also not going to suspect that,
Side note: them doing this is a war crime, by the way.
well, that's assuming war crimes are the same in Star Wars.
Well, ain't no rule in the books yet because nobody thought.
Also, the only type of war crimes treaties that I can think of is the Yavin.
After.
Yeah, they're after episode 4. The Yavin stuff, and I don't even know if that's canon off the top of my head. So yeah, as far as we know, not a war crime, at least in their universe. And so, yeah, they go up and they're like, "Hey, we're a supply ship," and the battle droids are like, "We don't remember a supply ship coming in, but okay."
They're like, you have all this rum, man. Do you fucking want it?
They're like, "What's the story?"
And he's like, look, I don't want to have to go and explain to my boss. I came here.
Yeah, I don't want to have to go above your head and get you in trouble because I couldn't do my job. And so they're like, fine. And so they prepare anyways because they're like, it's kind of weird that we're getting a delivery that we didn't expect. But they also didn't prepare enough.
Yeah.
Because they jam-packed this ship with troops.
Yeah.
So yeah, they hit them hard and they save the girl and they
Yeah.
bring her back. In fact, it goes over so well that the leader of this planet's like, yeah, we're gonna make a deal with the Republic now after this
We would like to join the Republic.
because we also said that this time we were neutral, but yeah, we joined the
It's not
Republic
working out for us. So sure.
because
And they're like, well, we can't just leave. And they're like, well, the good news is, when people are like deciding to join the Republic or not, they're
they're required to.
under its protection until they officially join.
So yep, Republic's like,
Once those
so
hulks,
General Six is like, we'll stay here, keep it safe.
yeah, once those hulks open up until they're shut down, you're under protection by the Republic.
General Six is cool. It's like, I got this.
All right.
Love General Six. I want more.
Padme fucking kills one troop super hard.
Yeah, Padme is like, I've now seen war, and it sucks.
I fucking hate this.
She's like, man, this is nothing compared to what happened on Naboo. I mean, Naboo's nothing compared to this one.
Yeah.
And she's like, man, this is way worse. I get it now. Like, I already was against this. Now I'm even more so.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, we still haven't talked to our contact who was supposed to talk to us.
Yeah.
I get, and the Wookiees are like, well, we're going back to Coruscant at this point, so
You want to ride?
I guess. And at this point, we learned that the droid is actually a spy for the contact.
One that
unwillingly,
have a choice.
unwillingly, because, programming.
How those work.
And so,
Which
Droid-
can be
Droid-
both good and bad.
Droid in a way kidnaps Padme,
Yeah.
and it's like, hey, my boss wants to
It's
talk
sort
to
of
me.
like I locked. It's like I locked the president in the bathroom. It's fine.
And then force them to take a phone call.
Yeah.
And then I also locked their security.
It like with closet.
Yeah. Thankfully, Baby Shark is there to save the day. Baby Shark gets Psycho out of his closet. Meanwhile, Padme makes a call and find out that's a contact isn't a Moy.
Yeah. And they're like, she immediately is almost.
Yeah, his name is Ojnadon, who we have already seen in, for those of us who read the excerpts that get released, in the Brotherhood excerpt, the first one, not the one we talked about today, because he's the representative that Ventress and Obi-Wan meet.
So
He's like, hey, so that thing with the whole Trade Federation, we hate them too.
yeah, but because of how our planet works, I can't just openly oppose
Yeah.
them.
Oh, we need to go back.
Yeah.
Because an important thing happened that involves what Nadine talks to her about, which is that Sasha teamed up with them with when she was with Harley. There was this weird shipment that showed up of tea, and it was a supply they needed, but it was like, where did this come from? We didn't like order it.
Yeah. So what?
So it turns out Ojna D was behind that shipment.
has been
Because he's
doing.
been doing multiple things.
He's been doing a lot.
He's been one providing shipments like that to people who need them. He's been doing like behind the scenes going, we're basically screwing the Trade Federation over because I got a subsidiary company beneath them that I'm in charge of.
Yeah.
And I
And we're not raising our prices or anything.
yeah, we're not raising our prices, we're not selling weapons, even though like the rest of our companies are. And we're not and we also like are providing like we're sending supplies to the world setting.
Yeah.
The other thing we're doing, because I've been reviewing your legislature that you signed, I've been working on helping slavery.
and helping trying to get rid of slavery. Because I can do that.
Because
I can
also-
actually like
yeah,
represent or
because
do it.
very much on a similar track, he can ship people off the world where they're being held.
Like so we've
And-
just been
and also-
sending,
Yeah, we've been sending them to the White Suns,
yeah, we've
and-
been sending them to white signs and they
and
take
then
it
they-
to either
and then we all after they get the chip out, we've been sending them to like different little
Carlos
to get
and
jobs.
Oreo, places where jobs are.
So
So they're like-
and Padme's like she's wary because she's like,
Well,
you're an Amoidian,
Morty and your people kind of
screwed me over, and also scarred Sasha.
yeah. Also, your boss is an asshole who
Yeah,
cheered for my death.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, Gunray kind of tried to assassinate me like 3 times.
I'm not sure the last one counts as an
Well, so
assassination,
I count
but-
so the way I count it, I count the first movie. Anytime he tried to kill her, well, tried to kill her once.
Yeah.
So, yeah, assassination event. Which, in the second book, we're gonna get to see the trials of that.
Oh.
Because he went on trial for that. Because at the end of the movie, they're like, oh, he'll be held in trial. We see how that goes.
Yeah, I bet it got fail.
The second attempt is hiring Jango Fett, who then hires Sam Weasel, who then or Wessel, who then hires those slug things. Actually, that's the third attempt. The second attempt is the destruction of the ship that
Yeah.
kills.
Oh yeah, that was that is attempt number.
Yeah, then was attempt number 3, and then attempt number 4 is Geonosis.
Yeah.
It's an assassination attempt. It's a public one, but it's an assassination attempt.
Yeah, all right.
So yeah, 4 times, 7 minutes trying to kill her. Yes, also the reason he agreed to join the Separatists, because in Attack of the Clones, during that round table meeting,
Yeah.
where like everybody's talking about how they'll join, he mentions that he'll join if Dooku helps with killing her.
Yeah, it's like just please kill this one woman. I've tried 3 times. Nothing is happening.
So yeah. So she's obviously wary.
Yeah.
But after he tells her all these things, he's
It's
been
like,
doing,
here's my proposition. And she's like,
and he's also like, hey, if you back me up and put me into a Senate seat instead of block dodge,
yeah.
to make actual changes. And so she's like, I gotta talk about this with my party, but it sounds like a good deal.
She's like, eventually they do get here to the party, and she goes and she presents to them. She presents it to them, and so all of them look and they're like, we would be insane to say no to this like essentially golden opportunity.
Yeah.
It would be crazy.
Also, the looking and
Yeah.
yep.
I want to make sure you said like this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't really.
Moving on. So yeah, she returned something like, hey, don't ever ask me to do that again.
Yeah, that's one of those things where I'm like, I get it. There's some things like,
Oh, we should talk about the important thing about before she talks to Sabe, because that's here's the book.
okay,
So let's talk about the important thing of when she reports back to Bell and Mama. Palpatine's in the room. Because Palpatine found out.
Yeah.
Because Palpatine's like, so after all the weird things that like, where Palpatine's like, I don't think that's Padme.
Yeah.
He finally puts two together and it's like, okay, it's a handmaid. He goes to Bell and off screen. She's like, hey, so that was a double A. And Bell's like, yeah. And so they talk about it, and of course Bell tells him not quite everything, but enough.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, let's be there when get back. And so she gets back, and he's there, and they explain that, and he tells them, hey, so here's the deal. And once again, we just get after that, get another great Palpatine that's mad.
And he's like,
He-
so he goes to the top.
And he's like, I'm so angry that these stupid worms think they can go around me. He's like, and then he's like, you know what? So I can use this.
It's fine. This
I can
little
use
thing,
this.
He's over here, he's like, I can pull a
See?
Xanatos Gambit off.
Yeah, Palpatine's already playing chess. He's already manipulating it.
While this is a small victory for them, this would benefit me.
Yes. So he actually calls Dooku.
Yeah, he's like,
And he's like,
hey,
whatever you do, don't actually start that assassination attempt that
Yeah.
been avoiding your ass.
could you hold on that for a bit?
Yeah, gun raise an idiot. Just hold off on it. He's like, give him some hope first, and then watch it fail. and then we win. Which, unfortunately, we do know it fails.
Yeah.
Because if you watch Clone Wars, Ocean Deep is not the senator of Cato Nemoria. It's Slot Dust. So, but
Yeah.
it's really about the journey, which is why Brotherhood is going to show us that journey.
And so
And so that's
so
now we come to the big finale.
yeah, it's not necessarily the end of the book, but
It's really the prime. I mean, the book really ends with Anakin and Padme together.
Yeah.
But well, it actually ends with Freya. Freya's the last thing. But
in terms
of like the emotional impact of the arc that's going on, this is the true like.
so
This is the climax, and then everything else is moving on. So the climax of this is the conversation that we've been alluding to since the beginning of this review,
they go Padme and Sabe.
and they have a very heated discussion.
I wouldn't say it's heated. I would say it's one of the.
Well, it's one side.
I don't even consider it is, but to me, it's in the way of like.
Hell, even Corday knew about Anakin before Sabe, and that's kind of like part of it.
I don't know. I'm not good with romances and such. So to me, this conversation comes across as boss, I don't like what you asked me
No,
to
this is a friendship. This is a friendship.
Never asked me to do that.
Yeah, this is a friendship thing of where she is creating lines now, where she's like,
Yeah.
this cannot be a work relationship
The hard
anymore.
part
We are
is
going to be
quite
friends.
literally that Padme is her boss.
Yeah, if we're going to be friends, we cannot be coworkers anymore.
Yeah.
Essentially. And so the discussion comes down to,
You've changed so much, the politics, the war.
yeah,
You're not the same girl I knew. We have a book right there.
yeah. I was trying to pull up the line, the line that really hits the points of the discussion. My hand is yours.
My hands are yours. Never asked me to use them again.
That's it. Yeah. Because it shows that she's still, and we're gonna get really into it even more. I'm not gonna say too much, but I am gonna say, be excited for when we go back to the Vader comics. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah,
And so that
I'll say that I'll give away this. We see Saw Vader in the Vader comics.
I hope she fucking looks different than Padme, cause it's not gonna go well.
And so
I'm not a genius, but I can see how that would go bad.
I'm not gonna say anything else. But
And so
yeah.
that is
So that's the end of their work relationship,
yeah.
and also change to their friendship to a degree.
It's not necessarily.
It's not a bad,
It's I can't pretend to be you anymore.
and also it's a I definitely cannot ever come back to Coruscant. I can't do that.
So this place is corrupt. It's bad. I'm kidding.
Yeah, this place has changed you, and I don't know if it's for the better yet.
Yeah.
So I can't be here.
So I'm going to go.
Like I know what the work you do is important. I just don't know if I can be here to support you.
Yeah.
But it does end on a nice note where they kind of go back a couple times. They
Yeah.
reflect on their times as sisters and talk about what everybody else is up to.
Yeah.
And have basically sleepover.
Yeah.
And then after she leaves, Anakin and Padme have their like husband thing, have their moment.
Yeah. They have
Take a fight. And that's and then the breakup, and then that's it.
That goes back to. It's not very typo.
It's type probably.
Yeah, they're.
Sorry.
Sabe.
Sorry.
Sabe.
Yeah, in case you think.
They go. And there's that real conversation.
Yeah, where they're trying to figure out where they are.
Yeah.
They're like, I like you, and I like you. Also, what is this? How's this gonna work?
Yeah, and like, not necessarily like I got rejected, but like I don't
feel.
give me some time.
Yeah. But I do think the romance is there. And
I think it was also another one of the things because somebody mentions they had like discussed it in the past where she was like, I can't do
yeah,
that.
before it was more of a work-life balance thing.
Yeah.
Now it's a, I need time.
I have time to recover. Before it seemed to me it was like I can't do that since I also have to occasionally act
It's a for
it
coworkers.
looks sad.
It's a for coworkers.
Yes.
And part of being a coworker.
Yeah.
So, especially in that case, where it just reflected Padme as having an affair.
Yeah. That's why I was like, that's why.
Which is also what she thought originally the Anakin situation was until the Jedi Temple scene,
Yeah.
where it kind of becomes more obvious that it's a. She's like, wait a minute, you guys are married, and then she's mad again, and then Anakin gets mad. That's why he rushed off because he was mad at her. He was like, I can't do this.
You're not my wife. It's the big lost delay.
Once again, a little bit of the red flag show. Ones that are hard to tell are red flags without.
Does not work for him.
No. So yeah. So that's the book.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And this is one of the few books that got me to read through like words from the author at the end.
Yeah. Oh, you read like the acknowledgments at the end? From what I skimmed them. They
Since John's been
yeah, you think Johnson did have right. Period.
because that's all that you need.
Right. But done the Ahsoka novel. So that's why she was given the throne, because she already did the Ahsoka novel, which was a partial adaptation of the Mandalorian arc. Mandalorian arc came out,
Okay.
and it was also like a continuation of her story of like while she was on the yeah. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Once again, my own complaint is I kind of want more of this stuff. Now, it doesn't have to just be like more Padme.
Yeah.
Honestly,
So
I
whatever you feel.
would like to see a stream book after that first one. A stream book would be interesting. Like just from life. Like obviously, I wouldn't expect like adventure and stuff.
No.
But I would like to see a pro life type of story.
I think-
maybe her like not just show her life before episode 1, but also show like up until her death. Like show the story of her falling in love with Cleves and showing her like how the marriage works. And we can see more of her developing like Sons of the Brothers. That would be a book I'd like to see. And I think she could pull that off.
I don't think it's necessary.
It's obviously not.
But
It's not a necessary book, but that's with any, honestly, with any of these books.
Yeah.
It's a higher book necessary? No.
but I think Johnston could do it. I think that's really
That would be a little book I'd like to see. Also, Brea, more Brea, because she's a character that's just so represented. Brea would be nice. Like, we know bits and pieces of her life, but we don't really know her. She's just Leia's mom for most people. And even then, some people don't even know that. They just know, oh, it's Bail Organa and then his wife. But yeah.
however,
I would give this an 8.
yeah, I'll give it a solid. Which, you know,
That's
one of the
great for you. Especially when you were like, oh, it's slow at first. So that's praise, putting it at an 8.
man, you know, one of these days, maybe we'll encounter one of these, and I'm like, just going to drop the bar at like
Yeah, I'm
two.
waiting for the one you hate, but I mean, you're like me. Like, more stuff is good stuff for the most part.
I'm like you have to fuck up real bad.
Alright,
However,
this will be the last thing we do. The handmade game.
oh fuck me, come on, man.
What's great is we've been saying most of them throughout our review. And you've got the hard ones that I couldn't remember most of the time. So let's start with Phantom Menace 5. So, I'll give you guys. The first one, because I've written them out. The first one is an artist.
Everything.
Yeah. Musician. I think she's mentioned it once.
Just mentioned once, so I do not remember it.
Robbie.
Robbie? Yeah.
Our lead. Abe, yeah. Married and a Naboo legislature.
Okay. That one.
So I said Naboo legislature, which separates her from the other one. Yep. And then the one she's married to?
Oh.
No.
It's not that way. Those
Those are the newest ones, yeah. So we can skip that. You named those two.
It's not Dorme, because Dorme organizes everything.
Yeah. Begins with a Y.
Got it.
Yep. And then the dead ones.
Think I almost snapped my neck.
Yeah. And then the dead ones.
Corday and birthday.
Yeah. So you got them all. Yay. See, I would get stuck probably on Robbie as well. And then I always get stuck with Corday and Versailles. Well, so I remember Corde's face, but I always forget her name. And then of course, Lego, the new Lego Star Wars had like the best joke about that one. Bearded Padme,
Oh yeah.
bearded Padme dies there instead of Corday. Yeah. All right. So, thank you guys once again for watching and sticking around. You made it through this one.
so long.
Yeah. 3 hours. You know what? I think it's only 5. We could probably do an out. No. We'll play another day.
Yeah. Sorry.
Let's decide it now. We'll decide it for the public.
Okay. At the moment, I don't think I'm doing. Well, no, because you have to be home.
Let me get my work schedule. I have my work schedule. It almost never changes, but I'll double check it.
You doing anything Wednesday afternoon?
I don't know. Not early if we do it well. It depends.
What's up?
So hold on.
Oh, is that?
Because there's a couple things that happen Wednesdays. So let's see. Let's see. 23rd. Okay. So Wednesday I get off at 11:30. Depending on if the curse is lifted.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Depending on if the curse is lifted. So y'all pray for me or whatever. Do whatever you do to get rid of curses.
Yeah, do whatever ritual you need to do.
Sacrifice a goat, whatever. Whatever it takes. Once the curse is lifted from that podcast, go ahead and then if that curse is lifted, then at 1 Wednesday, hopefully, we will have the movie podcast. If not, we can replace it with
Yeah.
that. And I will let you know that day.
Failing that.
Going that, we could try Thursday.
Yeah.
And I get off even earlier Thursday. I get off at 10.
Alright. I think that's a decent enough plan for now.
Yeah. So
But from here.
either way, be on
on
the lookout. Something's gonna happen Wednesday.
something will happen.
Something will air Wednesday. Either the curse will be lifted, or we get more Lego Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we'll have to play 2 days anyways because this week because we gotta finish it.
Oh yeah. If we're going together. Yeah. Alright.
So, honestly, and then of course I can't play it after the show. If I have the movie podcast Wednesday,
Yeah.
can't play it after because I have plans on Wednesday evenings.
Alright.
I hang out with Josh.
Yeah.
So, but Thursday works, and then depending on your Friday, that would work too. I get off at the same time.
I don't have my work schedule for this one.
Yeah, so whenever your work schedule comes in, just we'll play it by ear.
Yeah.
If not, then I guess if we only get Thursday, I guess we're binging hard. Yeah. Good thing I get off at 10. All right. Well, once again, thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, which is youtube.com/escaperowdyfilms, thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. If you are watching on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/CJStarWars94, go ahead and subscribe or follow. That all helps us out. Yeah, we do.
Well,
Yeah,
you have a Patreon.
I have a page. The company has a Patreon.
Yeah.
It's patreon.com/escaperowdyfilms, where
you get different rewards on there.
yeah, we're trying to build up more rewards. We're trying to do movie night. We still haven't done our first movie night.
Exactly. We'll get there.
Nobody schedules will have the line for people that were wanting to watch it, so we're weighing the pros and cons. And then we also get into Discord on the first one. My books you can get because I am an author. I've written 2 novels and a collection of short stories. So Superworld, sci-fi, superhero genre. If you like Star Wars, which is if you're here. If you like Marvel or superhero stuff like that, you'll like Superworld. And then the other main novel is Time Ninja. If you like fantasy, Highlander, time travel, samurai, Japanese culture, you'll like Time Ninja. Um, and then, of course, my other one is the short story collection, The Code Wars, which is in the same universe as Super Worlds.
Yep.
So you get a few stories about some of the characters from that and their backgrounds. So if you really like Super Worlds and you want to dig more into the universe, that book's there for that. Oh, and also you get early access to the tabletop game we're developing. On one of the, I think if you're getting the book one, you've already got that level. Because I think the access to the tabletop game that we're developing, like early access, is like a tier below that.
Yep.
It's a tier cheaper. Whereas the if you want the books, it's the higher tier.
Yeah, I think if you go to the highest level, then you get all of it.
Yeah, the highest tier you get all of it.
Because that's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if you just want the tabletop game, it's a tier shorter than the books. But the tabletop game is also set in the Super World universe, so I would get the books as well.
Yeah.
Because then I think the tabletop does a great
work.
I think
work well on.
I think I've written the main
It works
core rule book as well enough to be like, here's the universe. That way you don't have to read the books, but if you want to, you can. Because it will just build on your knowledge. So yeah, we do all that.
Thank you to the
Podcast Network and Gamers and Geeks, not Geeks and Gamers. That's the thing that we have to care about, because Geeks and Gamers is a terrible, that we don't want to associate with whatsoever. But Gamers and Geeks, however, is a great gaming store. It's our local gaming store where you can buy Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, any card game that you want. They also have mini games. So if you like Warhammer, which I'm not big on, but I need to check the lore out because I know it's pretty good lore. Yeah. And then we also got the arcade in the back that you can get access to for $10 day pass. Lets you play any of the games that you want. It's if you like classic arcade games, I know they got Mortal Kombat, they got Marvel vs. Capcom. They got some classic shooters like House of the Dead. So plenty of good stuff. Crazy Taxi, all the classics. Just Pac-Man. So and then of course, adjacent to
with the Engage.
Adjacent to Gamers and Geeks is Engage Gaming. It's in the same building. They're another friend of the channel. You can rent out you pay monthly fee to be a member, and you can rent out consoles. So say you don't have a PS5 or your PC isn't strong enough to play games, you can come here, do that. You can even pick the game. They have game collections that you can pick from. So say you don't have Lego Star Wars, then you can go, hey, I want to play some Lego Star Wars. You got it in your shelf. I'll play 2 hours of that and bring it back. And it's a great way to do that. They also got a VR headset, and so plenty of those games to play. Once again, going back to Modcast Network, who actually make their shows in the studio. We are currently on hiatus for recording, but you can check out the Titanic episode.
One of these days, I will show up to one of theirs.
Yeah.
Crash theirs.
And Scotty crashes here all the time, but we love it. And then we also have the new show Tuesdays with Scotty, which our second episode is currently out, which it is going to be a twofer because it was a long interview, but it was a great interview. We talked with a comic book owner, comic book company owner, like he runs the actual developing comics, writing stories and stuff. And then they talk G.I. Joe and a lot of other stuff. It's a great interview. And then my Star Wars show. Nothing big coming out of that right now either. But there is another show in development. I don't know how much I can say.
Well, it's in development.
It's in development.
That's about it.
I am going to say, because we already recorded the first few episodes, and I will say that it is a lot of fun. I had fun making it. When we get closer to where I can talk about it, then we'll talk about it.
But for now, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
So,
So once again, thank you all for watching. I've spoken.
see you all around, I guess.
You still haven't come up with one.